we're live. All right, just after 6, we will get our call to order and get going. Roll call, Chris, please.
Brett Eady.
Yes.
Bob Sullivan.
Yes.
Mike Hancock.
Yes.
Alex Shada.
Yes.
Di Pfeiffer. Yes. Renee Philmeyer. Yes.
Okay, at this time we'll stand for pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act up on the wall. You are free to glance at that at your leisure. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? So. Second. Any discussion on the agenda, any items to add or delete? Okay. Chris, please.
Bob.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Di. Yes. Renee. Yes. Brett.
Yes. 3.1, the board minutes from our January meeting. Any amendments? Any need to be corrected? Nope. Motion approved. Second.
Second.
Discussion. Chris, whenever you're ready.
Mike.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Di. Yes. Renee. Yes. Brett.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
3.2, claims. There's one ED bond service one in there, so we're going to motion to approve all but that one, please.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
I just have a quick question, and it's just because I'm new. The independent school, that
The issue.
70,000, yeah, what is
That's
that?
for first and second semester. We have kiddos that go there, and that's our tuition.
No.
It's so much a student.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion? And a second, Rick? Okay. You have a motion?
Alex made a motion.
No problem. Second.
Yep.
Whenever you're ready, Chris.
Alex.
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Brett.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. There is one for ED bond service if there is a motion. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Chris?
Mike.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
Renee. Yes. Brett.
Abstain.
Bob.
Yes.
Treasurer's report. Specific accounts are listed there. If there's any questions on those that were attached to your agenda. Discussion, questions? Non-action item. Hearing none. Policy review has been,
You push that.
yeah.
Okay. So quick question on this. This is going to be pushed to next month. As I get these new policies in from KSB, the policy committee is reviewing them with me. Do you guys that aren't a member of the policy committee want copies as well, or do you just want the final product when we're done? Okay. Mike? All right. I will send those on.
We'll revisit that in March. On to the administrative reports.
I got a question. Are they taking sections at a time and sending them back to us?
Yeah. So the policy committee has 3 chapters in their hands right now. There's 6 chapters total. So they're reviewing 1, 2, and 3. I will get those to you. I have 4, 5, and 6. I just haven't sent them out yet.
Remind me, Renee and Bob too.
Bob and Brett. Yep.
It does look like a nice cleanup, by the way.
It's very much so.
It's just very labor intensive.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Administrative reports. Ben attached one, as did all the other administrators. Any questions? As per our kind of new agenda and request them to be here for extra questions, discussion, as by 9 o'clock on Monday morning following getting your packet. Any questions on that report? Is that everybody right? About Robert's report? Any discussion for Shelley's report? Middle school report? All pretty cut and dry. Director of Learning report, he is here as well to talk about our publication that will be going out. Any questions for Josh on his report?
You're going to separately talk about the school part, right?
High school principal report, pretty straightforward. Questions about that? And superintendent.
I didn't have anything for you because we've got enough going on here.
Sounds good. There's one communication there. It is a thank you card from St. Let's Catholic School. Thank you for providing donuts to our family and staff here in Catholic Week. Very nice. So we are to the audience comments portion of our meeting. Welcome, everybody. Generally, we have 30 minutes of discussion. We try and limit to 3 minutes per person coming up and discussing. If there are 2, 3, 4, 5 that have the exact same comment, if you could come up and introduce yourself so everybody knows who's talking, that'd be great. If we get to about 25 minutes and there seems like there's a few more people who want to talk, we can extend it as well. So we will not cut off if we do not need to. Okay? But we do ask you to come up close to the camera. You don't have to stand in front of the camera, but just give us your name, where you live, and let us know what you're thinking. Who wants to be the leader? I'll go. Yes, that's better. Thank you. All right.
Hello, my name is Rick Aarons, the Athletic Director for Bishop Newman. I'm here on behalf of the baseball co-op issue. I'm speaking basically, I believe, for the majority of our people. I'm not sure everybody would agree, but the majority of our people in our administration feel that we would like to keep and enter with a baseball co-op with Wahoo and continue what we've been doing. We feel that it's been very good for our school. We feel that it's been good for our kids and our players. We feel that it's very good for our community. Looking back when we started this, and I think our discussion started in maybe 2016, it was Wahoo, Lincoln Lutheran, and Raymond Central at the time. Raymond Central only offered about 3 players, I believe, and so they were kind of maybe phasing themselves out, and they asked if Bishop Newman would like to enter in that co-op, which we did. And it was kind of the agreement that eventually Lincoln Lutheran would maybe step out because they were looking to co-op possibly with Lincoln Christian. And so that's been late in coming and it hasn't happened. Now Lincoln Lutheran is going on their own. And so this is basically the goal. What we started in 2016 was a Newman Wahoo baseball co-op. And we felt that it was in everybody's best interest. We felt it was good for the community. And I believe both sides were willing to get there. I think we're here today. And I think that's what we want. As far as Bishop Newman, that's what we want. I know that Class C has come into a factor of that. But still, we're willing to play Class B baseball. We feel that it's best for our school and it's best for our student athletes. Okay? You bet.
I'm Trent Berry, and the last 3 years I played on the co-op. I feel like it's a great opportunity to just like be able to play with kids from the community. Like growing up, I was always able to play with Kale and a whole bunch of other guys, and I feel like with this like co-op going through, like those bonds just keep growing and growing, and like friendships build up down the line. And I feel like it's just a great way so like continue like the bonds and friendships, and it's a great way that our community can like join together in a sport instead of like being almost like butting heads like in every other sport where we play each other. And I feel like it's a great opportunity just to be able to go have a good time with your friends.
What school do you go to?
I go to Bishop Newman.
And what grade?
I'm a senior this year.
Fantastic, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jesse Stebbing. I'm a junior here at Wahoo. I moved here in 2nd grade, and I've been a baseball guy my whole life. These baseball guys were the first ones to welcome me into the community. I've played with them ever since I moved. They're just my friends, and we form a great baseball team and community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kay Lady. I'm a senior here at Wahoo High School, and I think continuing with the co-op would be best for at least the high school boys, especially because, like, I've grown up playing baseball with these guys my whole life, and baseball has always been a part of my life, and it's something that I'll carry on for my whole life. And the bonds that I've grown with these guys has been nothing like anything else. Like, I get to share my love with baseball with them, and we still continue to play Legion ball in the summers together. And just seeing how with like our connections with Lincoln Lutheran, yes, we played with them in the spring, but it also kind of like we'd butt heads a little bit because we played against them in the summer. And a lot of these guys are really competitive, and even the younger, like underclassmen, they're also very competitive. And it just kind of makes you butt heads and does not make the best team, which is kind of something we want. We want a good team for years to come. And I think the co-op would be a good idea because those bonds that you make, you'll have them until the day you die. Like, it's just something that you never lose. And like, these guys will be here for me, I'll be here for them. And if you don't play, I mean, you could keep them playing one season together, but it just really grows that bond and grows the program at Wahoo. Thank you.
My name is Grant Ryan. I'm a senior at Bishop Newman. I moved here my freshman year of high school, and I played baseball for the past 3 years. And I've made some really great friends this way. I kind of had a clean slate when I moved here, and instantly I was able to make connections with these guys. And on top of that, it's led to connections in other areas of my life. I got a job through knowing Kale and knowing Brett, and so that has opened up a bunch of doors for me. But outside of that, just in a baseball aspect of it, I don't really think either school could survive on their own as a baseball team. I think it really only works as having these two schools together to have these bigger number of upperclassmen who just know how to play baseball and have played it with each other their whole lives. So, thank you.
My name is Barry Wilson. I'm a junior here at Wahoo, and I think the co-op continuing would be a great idea because I've been playing baseball with these kids my entire life, and you know, playing baseball with your friends is really what it's all about. And like, both teams might even struggle on their own. Newman will have to call up with someone anyway, so I think letting us play together with our friends that we've made over our lifetime would be the best choice.
Hi, my name's Mike Christen. I live here in Wahoo. I have a son that's a freshman this year that will be playing baseball. My biggest comment is I hope you guys, and I'm sure you have, are taking into consideration the administration and the coaches from here because they are the kids that are they're the people that are with them every single day. And regardless of what happens, I do hope if the co-op does pass that there's a cost share that's realized between the two schools, just because I know Wahoo so far has taken on the lion's share of it. And I just think that if it is just the two schools, both have the opportunity. So if it does pass, I think both schools should be, not just money-wise. I'm talking, I mean, transportation, people working, you know, administration being down there, all those things.
And I also think from a coach's standpoint, I'm Trina Kristen. I also have a freshman, 3rd grade teacher and softball coach. And we have been able to sustain a softball program on our own. and we float between Class and B, and we have anywhere from 18 to 22 girls respectively every year, and we're very competitive year in and year out, no matter what class we're in. And I think you would be lying if you said when those classifications come out, you want to be C, because that's where your best chance is. Everybody's end goal is to make it to state, right? And if we are able to go on our own, that would be our best chance, to make that run down the road, would be to be that Class C classification. And I think as an employee of Wahoo Public Schools, it's in our best interest to do what's best for our kids that walk through our door every day, and that's what needs to be the most important thing as we move forward. Thank you.
Chad Fox, live here in Wahoo, teaching the school, coach, but I'm also here more so as a parent. I'll have a freshman that's out for baseball. Pains me a little bit because I'm the track coach, but I have to look at what's best for him. And I think we look at our kids that go to this school, we want to provide as many opportunities as we can for them. And that's where I'm sitting, that's where I'm looking at. We want to provide opportunities for the kids in District 39 that go to Wahoo Public Schools. And if we can compete in Class C level, which we will be a more competitive team in Class C than we would be in Class B, then I think that, we're providing those opportunities for our kids for more success. All of our other programs have been very, very successful. Whether you talk about softball, cross country, basketball, wrestling, they all have success. And I think if you're putting the baseball team in Class B, the chances of success are far less. If you look at the history of the program, the state tournament appearances only 3 times over the 18 some years that they've been together. So I think the numbers are there. We have enough kids to be on our own. We have enough kids to be competitive on our own, and I just feel like that's really what's best for our kids. You look at summer baseball, yes, I think it's great that these kids get to play all together. I do think that's great, but I don't know any other program where the club program that we have is giving us direction for our high school program, if you get what I'm saying. We don't make decisions for basketball because of Wahoops. We don't make decisions for football because of the Rhinos and the Beef. We don't do that. It's kind of the other way around. So, I think we need to keep that in consideration as well. Also, if you look at the NSA bylaws, it tells you right there with co-ops. Co-ops should not be formed for competitive advantages against other member schools. So I think you got to keep that in mind as well. When you look at the NSA guidelines, it's laid out there. So I'd love to see Wahoo be able to go on their own and compete at Class C and have that success.
I'm going to read something because it's too many thoughts. I'm Joe Booth, a sophomore at Bishop Newman. I think the board, coaches, and folks on both sides who want to split need to think about how long Wahoo would be in Class C. Talk to people at the NSA and they will tell you the goal of Class C baseball is to add as many teams across the state as possible. All the Class A teams that will ever have baseball already have baseball. Most, if not all, the Class B teams that will ever have baseball already have baseball. All of these new teams will be Class C. Wahoo might start near the top of Class C, but it will be short-lived if the NSA plan goes into place. And then you get to Class B a few years later with no co-op. You want to talk about struggling in Class B, you're really going to be struggling in Class B. And you look at all the other schools around the same enrollment as Wahoo, like Roncalli, Aurora, McCook, the GAC, West Point, Beamer, Concordia, Brownell, Talbot. I'm hearing they're going to drop somebody. Wahoo's the only one of those communities that's growing. There's 100 lots for sale within a couple blocks of this school, right? A new development coming over there. Where are those families and kids going to school? And then consider all the Class C schools that have already talked about it. Internally, at least you got your Pierces, your O'Neills, your St. Paul's, Holdridge, Minden. All these schools are talking about adding baseball. They might not all get it, but they're all talking about it. Those are all smaller enrollment than Wahoo. That's going to push Wahoo up pretty fast. There's no guarantee they're going to get it. I think you'd start out as a larger Class C, and I think you'd be quickly moved to Class B within a few years with no co-op and no partner. That's all I got.
Thanks, Joe.
Hi, I'm Randy Johnston. I'm kind of don't need to say what Joe said, but all my thoughts are with him, or what he said is, so I don't need to say all that. And also, you think about the community. I also believe if it gets split, you will lose youth baseball, and you will lose Legion, and everybody will just split. And I think we could have that all our own if we develop our youth to have a very competitive Class B school. It might not happen year 1, year 2, but we're starting with some Craws and some Owls that are starting to feed the program. We are making the right steps, and to see it all go away would be really disappointing. I have a junior; he'll be a senior next year, and I have no other kids. I'm more concerned about the youth and bringing them up to feed both schools. So I would be with what Joe says. Thank you.
Quinn Miguel, Wahoo graduate, former volunteer assistant for varsity. I think we should keep the co-op. There's just something about the community, every other youth sports just torn apart. When I was young, it was Newman Public together. Now it's separate. I mean, it's just one of those things where if we're really concerned about not this incoming class, not the next 3 years, if we're looking for the longevity of this program, keeping those kids together, because let's say this does split, what's going to happen? I mean, you might destroy youth baseball, you might go Newman Public, then at that point those kids could be getting their brains beat in, all youth, and they can learn to hate baseball. They don't want to be out, they don't want anything to do with it because they're sick of getting their brains beat in, when really, if they're together, they can play at a higher level throughout their youth, they can further their skill, they can grow to enjoy it even more and more. And when they're compete for state championships when they're young at a very high level, it's something that they just want to keep doing. They get the hunger for winning, they want to keep playing. Baseball's a great team sport, you can't tear it apart, and I just think it's one of those things where, for the good of the community, these two schools need to stay together, and I think it'd be awesome to have them stay together and continue in Class B, because it's only a matter of time before they go to B anyway. And at that point, I'm just, my opinion, I don't think Newman's coming back. So, thank you guys.
Cameron Quick. I was a former Wahoo graduate, former Bishop Newman student. I'd just like to say that I think we need to do everything we can to keep these schools together and as a community basis and not dividing them. I love playing with both schools, and a lot of them are still my good friends today. When we first joined with Newman in 2018, we made it to state, so that was a state appearance. I just think we need to continue with the path we're on, and we'll find success. That's what Wahoo does. Thank you.
My name is Dylan Egger. I'm a Wahoo grad. But not only that, I umpire for the Craws organization, which is both schools combined. And every summer I go out there and I umpire, but I get to see the community working together. And this is like the only thing we have left in our community together. It's kind of a beautiful thing, and we're producing great talent. I have coaches from Omaha come in and they say, wow, I didn't expect a Wahoo program to be this good. And I think, all other sports don't combine, but we have a great opportunity to consolidate a community that's been devised for the last 20 years over subjects that I think if we work together as a community rather than be devised, I think it can create great things. So I think the board needs to reconsider what their decision is so far. So thank you.
Mark McGill. I live here in Wahoo. I've had kids go to Newman. I've had kids go to public. So I've been on both sides. I sent you all an email today, a lengthy one that you probably wondered if I was ever going to get to a point. I hope it made sense. Couple points I want to make sure everybody factors in is that, number one, we don't know how long we'll be Class B. And neither do I. I have no idea how long we'll be Class B. I do know that playing the Scuts and the Norrises of the world push our kids to be better. It sets the bar higher. If we're playing teams like Pender Bancroft, who has won maybe 3 or 4 games in the last 5 years, we don't get better that day. So, I mean, playing higher level competition pushes our kids to be better. And then finally, the last thing I would say is that for a long time, those of us at Newman tried to figure out a way to somehow make this work. And I know that it was a difficult thing to get together, but now that we've got it together, I would hate for families to have to wrestle with the decision of, I got a kid who wants to play baseball, but he goes to Newman. I hope parents don't have to go through that coffee table discussion going forward. I hope that we stay together and we figure out how to compete with the big boys in Class B, because I think we might be short-sighted on how long we may be in Class C. So, thank you.
A parent of a freshman and a junior. We have been grateful for the baseball co-op that has existed the last couple years, the friendships I've seen my kids develop, and all the kids in this community have been great for all of them. In a town where there's a lot of divide between the schools, the baseball co-op is one of the last remaining activities that works to unite the two schools in this community. And I'm afraid if you kick the Bishop Newman kids out of the co-op, the divide will grow deeper. If this really is about making the best decision for the kids and not about appeasing parents, you would be asking every sophomore through senior that's played together about their experience. I challenge you to base your decision on what the kids in the school district want. It's about a lot more than baseball. This is about our community. Regardless of the board's decision about baseball, Bishop Newman will still welcome the Wahoo Public School students into our FFA program, because what really matters is providing an opportunity for students to participate in something they are passionate about. Being part of a club or team with kids from other schools fosters new friendships, teamwork, and builds confidence. Keep this in mind as you contemplate taking away this opportunity for youth in our community.
Any others?
This is kind of non-baseball related, but as teachers and coaches, we constantly talk about how we're trying to do more than just teach people how to play baseball. Extremely proud right now of these guys. I know how nervous I am standing in front of all of you speaking. Okay, I know how hard it has to be for 16, 17-year-old kids. Very proud moment right now with these guys, former players coming up. That's what we're talking about, being members of society. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Pretty proud moment for myself right there, and probably a lot of other teachers in this room right now. Thank you. Oh, Kyle Wires won. Sorry.
Time for a few more. Anybody else?
I'm not a public speaker. My name's Martin Berry. I have a senior, a Newman, a freshman, and a fourth grader. All my kids like baseball, and honestly, when my kid went out for baseball, I was really nervous how everything was going to work with the co-op between Newman and Public, and I am astonished how well it's went and smooth it's went, and I hope it can continue. I'm not worried about my senior boy, because you know what? He's done. He's got a team this year. I'm worried about all the other kids from 5th, 6th on up, because when they look at what they want to do, if they want to play baseball, they need to know they got something to do. And I just hope the board can evaluate the situation. Thank you.
Colby Shutt. I have a boy that will be a freshman next year, and I have one that will be a 6th grader. And they both play for the Cross organization, which is, as you know, both combination of both. And the one that's going to be a freshman just loves baseball, and not only do we combine there, but in our basketball team this year, we've only had 6 kids. So we have combined many practices with the 8th grade basketball team this year, the Wahoo team. And our kids love those practices because they love all the kids that are on that team as well. So it's not just baseball that we're talking about. It is other sports that they can get into, that they co-op, and that they can play together with. It does bleed into everything else. My boy that's going to be a 6th grader next year, he plays on the Cross team, and he was the only St. Wentz kid on the team. And we asked him at the end of the year last year if he would like to go somewhere else and play on a different team, or if he would like to stay with the Cross and play with all the Wahoo Public kids that he plays with. And there was no question in his mind that he wanted to play with the Cross and on that team because he enjoyed playing with all those kids. It doesn't matter whether they are Wahoo kids or they're Newman kids, St. Wentz kids, they're all kids. They all enjoy playing with each other. So I'd be in favor of keeping all the kids together in one capacity or another. Thank you.
I'm Brian Sanderson. I brought my son Will here. He's on the 6th grade Cross team. He wants to keep playing with his buddies. They had a lot of success. They won state, I don't know, their 5th grade year. So got a really good team. And there's is there 4 of you from St. Wentz, and the rest are from, so they got an even amount of kids, got a good combination. I just want to see these kids play together because they got something going. Thank you.
I'm Rocky Abbott. I got kids at St. Wentz and kids in middle school at Bishop Newman. I actually graduated from Ashland. I live in U10, but we bring our kids to Wahoo because we love the community. I'm a coach for the Wahoo Cross. I coach their 7th graders, be 13U this year. I got half Newman kids, half Wahoo Public kids. These kids bond together like no other, you know. And if we want to talk about the best opportunity for all the kids in the whole community, I mean, if you want more numbers, the more numbers you have, the best opportunity for every kid. All right. If we want to separate, we're going to get into smaller numbers, and you're going to have kids that are freshmen out for baseball, not ready to play against some seniors that they're going up against. I mean, they won't be ready to be on the field. So they're going to go out there and they're going to get themselves, you know, they're going to be down on themselves, and they might not want to play next year or the year after that because they're not having success right away. Where if we have enough where we can have a good JV team, a good freshman team, where kids get more opportunity to build themselves up and make themselves better to get on that varsity spot, I just think it's a better opportunity for everybody. I just think the more numbers we have, keeping the kids combined, I think the better opportunity for all the kids in the whole community. You know, right.
We have a few minutes left. Others? Any?
So wait a minute, time out. I have a question, okay? I know that this is farther down our agenda. Is there any possibility, while we have all of these people here, can we engage in this discussion about the co-op? Can we move that? I don't know if we can or can't, but I've got a lot of questions.
Just move it up on the agenda and then start.
Could we do that? That seems to make more sense than jumping to the building project and then jumping back to the co-op.
So you want to move the action item?
I would like to. Does that require a motion?
Yes.
Make a motion.
Make a motion to move action item containing the co-op agenda up to an open meeting.
So moved.
Yes, open dialogue with every because there may be questions we want to ask people in the crowd.
Well, you don't have to leave comment open for questions.
No.
Yeah,
So what?
I would close comment.
So let's
We
hold the
discuss
motion.
it if we need somebody to come up and answer.
All right, at this time, close public comments. Sign action item. Any motion on the action item of the current open meeting.
Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Di?
Yes.
Now, we are at the action item of the co-op. Probably a motion and a second or open discussion. We have discussion prior to we open that action. This could be either we have discussion.
We move the whole thing up so we can take action on it.
I don't think you need a motion.
Right.
No, right, I think.
So I'm going to start. First of all, thanks everybody's here. This is probably the biggest crowd we've ever had, and it's for the right reason. I've got a 5th grader, an 8th grader, and a senior. I was thinking about this when I heard these young men talk. I did a straw poll with some kids that I know, and every one of them says, "Dad, why would we not put the Newman kids?" It made no sense to me. It doesn't make sense, and that's just my kids. and kids I've seen at the weight room, at Civic Center, have all said the same thing to me. This is about the kid, not me as a parent. It's about the kids. And so we talk about where we're at from a standpoint of Class C, Class B, whatever. Okay, so just some numbers. Right now, if we were on our own, we would be 6th in Class C. Just by the numbers, okay? Next year, by numbers you've seen, we would be 7th. Now, remember this. I just wanted to do just a little information.
Mike, just to clear, where are those numbers? Because I've seen all kinds of numbers over the last 72 hours.
You just go to NSA. I called Dan Masters at the NSAA. He gave me a lot of information. I went online, got all the information, and I pulled things up.
Okay.
It's all stuff that he told me. He said to me, so there are 54 Class C1 schools and 55 Class C2 schools. Of that, I think the number is the number of current schools in Class C1 that are in a co-op or have their own co-op is, so it would be 31 remaining, so 50, I don't know, what's my math? 54 minus 31, what is that? 23. So 23 schools are currently on their own or involved in a co-op right now. That leaves 31 schools, C1 schools, that's just C1, that aren't. Okay? So then you go to Class C2, that's another 55 schools, and if you do the math on that, there are a total of 8 of the C2 that are somewhat involved in a co-op. Well, guys, if you think about that alone, an amount of teams, and again, I don't have a crystal ball. I get today, next year, we would be Class C. That's not debatable. We would be Class C. But not knowing what other teams are going to do in other schools, for example, we know Lutheran's a team that's below us. Okay, Standing Bear and Bellevue East are new schools, but I don't think Standing Bear, they're not going to do varsity athletics or freshman, sophomore only. And those numbers are 121. So that, if you just take the number divided by 2, it's 121 boys, and you just take the school in half. They're estimating, because they're obviously, that's what they're at. Even if Bellevue East, I mean Granite East is Class B today, is a Class B, what's to say in 2 years, which they'll grow, will be over 850. 850 is a magic number for those larger schools. Highest opts up. All these schools opt up. They're all going to continue to grow. So I struggle with, my job as a board member is to look at the big picture. Not this little microism of 1 or 2 years. Where are we going to be in 4 years? Where are we going to be in 6? It's kind of like our school project. We got to look at the future. This is no different, in my opinion. So I have a hard time thinking that we're going to stay in C1. And the best thing I got from the NSA was Dan Master said, use the softball model. Okay? Where is Wahoo girls have been the last couple of years? And off and on. And then Katrina said it, Class B. And they're going to be Class B again next year. Am I right, Robert?
They should.
Yeah, because their number's higher than it was last year.
We are the smallest Class B school.
At 117 will be the smallest?
You were at 107.
Last year, we're 117 for next year. So,
one thing I do want to fix you on is the Standing Bear number is 250. Yes, they have a smaller enrollment than that, but the NDE numbers that they sent to the NSA, they are 250. Although they aren't playing varsity athletics next year, they will not be in the classification.
They will not be. So they don't count toward B. So that's okay. So Bellevue. So
for 1 year.
For Granite East is the only one that counts into it.
For 1 year.
Yeah. So it's not 2. So we're not dropping down, right? We wouldn't drop with those 2 schools because only one's going to be counted. So we would drop 1 spot to 7.
I have us as the seventh biggest C1 or Class C baseball.
So if you can, and again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I find it hard to believe that in 2 years, 3 years, we're going to be still sitting in that same spot, just by sheer numbers of what's below us. Because softball started in 2001 to 2003. If you look at their numbers, they continue to grow, and a lot goes. So I'm just using the model of what softball uses. He said that it's the same. It's the same enrollment, same everything. I don't know how. And if perfect world where you just stay C. If you could promise me, or you could promise me that we'd be C for the next 10 years, that's probably a different conversation.
Why is it? Why would that change it?
Because because at the end of the day is, if 10 years of this says we're going to be Class C, we'd have to have a discussion about it. I just don't see even having that discussion that irrelevant, because it's not going to be there to the kids have already said what they want to do. The kids, to me, have said they want to be together.
And this isn't going to come out right, but I'm just going to say it. We don't have these conversations in any other sports. We haven't discussed co-oping or not in any other sport. So I'm not sure how we factor that into the ultimate decision.
What sport would we co-op to?
We could potentially to be more competitive. I mean, so I guess my question, let me phrase it a little bit. Are we going to base a co-op off of how competitive the program will be? Or not even just baseball, just in program we offer at the school. Should we base it off how competitive it would be, or how are we going to determine success? And why? That's what I'm struggling with right now. I mean, you mentioned a lot of things to keep us, to try to keep us down in C numbers wise. But is that because we would be more successful in C, or more successful in B with a co-op? Or I'm not sure why we haven't had these other conversations with other programs.
But I guess give me an example of another program.
We don't feel like we need to co-op in any other sport.
Yeah.
Why baseball? Is that a summary of your question?
Why not?
Why baseball?
Because they had to have that beginning for the numbers. They had to have them. So no other sports have done that.
So have we outlived it though? Now we have enough.
We do?
Well, I guess, let me ask, Robert, you're our AD.
I feel very comfortable with our baseball numbers as they are currently and where they're trending, that we'd be able to score on.
What's our numbers, Robert?
27.
This year?
How many are human kids?
Is that just Wahoo?
That's just
27
Wahoo.
is public, and how many
So we lose 3. How many are we gaining next year for 8th grade?
It's hard to speculate.
Okay, so we have 24. And if kids don't stay out, I mean, there's always kids that may not still stay out. What if they don't go out?
That's any sport.
True, I get it.
Football, basketball, track. That's super hard to speculate.
How many do you think you need to sustain an individual team?
A varsity only team?
Well, you said you have 27 out. If you're comfortable with that, so just use whatever formula you have for that. How many do you need?
To keep the JV varsity program and anything, and we've averaged over 26 for 20 years.
Robert, what is your recommendation? Can you give us your perspective?
My recommendation as the AD of Walker Public Schools would be to have our own team, basing that for what is best for our kids that walk through our building every single day. Gives them more opportunities to play. Class C gives us, if we move to B, who knows, that could be, I mean, it took 15 years from the start of Class B to the start of Class C. So baseball teams aren't adding exponentially in this process. There's a lot of speculations. Yes, people can have conversations about whether they're going to add them or not. But my recommendation would be that we have a baseball team.
Mike, I get what I was getting at. Will we end up having to have this discussion with other sports at some point? Because are we not? Where would we have these discussions for other sports? Would be if we start slipping wins and losses, or at what numbers?
What if we don't have kids out? And you're not. What if you fall into a situation where schools?
Sure, no, I'm not disagreeing. that's what I'm wondering.
So let's take the hypothetical is okay. We go on our own. We know Lutheran's gonna go on their own. I'm guessing Newman, from parents I've talked, I'm not speaking for them, I'm assuming they'll look at going on their own. We have one field in Wahoo. It's number 1. What do you do there? How does that work with one field? Yeah, you got Hack right now, you got a couple fields, but for a varsity field, how does that work? I Yeah, have we thought about that? How's that work for the usage between us and Newman? Because that's one field putting a lot of teams on. And if you have JVs, you have practice, you can have split practices. You know, I mean, that's one question I have for if I was looking at this. And I would say that another question for me is as a parent, and I would say, because I have future kids, I want an organization where I'm getting a little selfish, where my kids are playing in the Crowds organization, and I look at the numbers. Our numbers are pretty even coming forward where the kids are at. And so we go up to B with half the kids we have. How's that going to work? You know, Mark McGill said it best, and Quinn did. We got to compete. We got to get better. We should encourage that. Develop.
What does your crystal ball tell you on how long we can stay in class?
Based off our 3rd grade enrollment numbers all the way down to 1st grade, I would say quite some time. Now you have to factor in some growth and things like that, but as we've used for the building, I'd use 1.5%. I would say our number stays below 150, 155 for all the way down through 1st grade.
And that's with some schools adding baseball?
I think the number will stay consistent with where football is as teams grow, or as more teams are added. Typically, 159 is the Class C1 to Class B cutoff for football.
So Robert, I'm going to throw this at you. This is coming right off the NSA. Right now,
I'm sure I got the same forms.
Yeah. So 23 is what we have currently in there. So you're guessing, you're thinking we probably won't add hardly any teams next year?
ADs would already be scheduled for that.
When do they have to let the NSA know? What's the date?
For baseball.
For next year.
So you have to fill out by June 15th.
Of this year. So you don't think there are going to be very many? Just Luther maybe, and maybe a couple others?
Like I said, I haven't heard of them.
I mean, you don't think Central City, Concordia, those might go on their own?
I mean, you could ask them, but that would be your speculation.
No, we're making a decision that changes, because this ends, it doesn't come back. So I'm asking you, so you're telling me you don't see for no more than a couple teams?
Similar to however many added this year, there wasn't very many.
Have you ever asked NSA, ask them what softball did when they started? Because that would be the model they use. How when they started, how many they join every year? That would be a model I would look at.
Is that the right comparison? I guess I was going to say, I've learned more about baseball in the last 72 hours.
Yeah, when I called down there, he came back saying just compare it to the softball model.
Okay, but can you compare it to the softball model? From what I understand, the issue with baseball is pitching. You can pitch a softball.
But softball model is about numbers. It's still numbers. We're using the same numbers for baseball and softball for Class B and C. You're using the exact same numbers.
Right, but smaller schools can field a softball team easier than they can a baseball team. And so the numbers of new entries into maybe softball, from what I understand, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, it's easier to start a new softball team as a small school than it is to start a new baseball team when you look at how many new teams are going to start packing into Class C. Is that a fair statement? So I just want to make sure if we're making comparisons that they're valid comparisons.
My concern about the pitchers is that you need a larger number of pitchers on your baseball team to remain competitive. And like some of the parents were saying, you know, if these athletes are going out and getting their hats handed to them week after week, you're going to see a number drop off in future years because the program is not successful and, you know, it can fail because of that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a little harder to start up small teams, but if you're right on that bubble and you end up in Class B with an inadequate number of pitchers, you're gonna falter before the season ends. So that's the problem. And one question I have is, if our numbers are literally going to stay relatively the same for a number of years, I don't know, what, is that 10 years? Is that 5 years? Is that
Down in first grade, I had us, more than we are now, but not to the point where I don't see it.
Then why are we building a $40 million addition on the school? That's my concern, is that
But it's
if
only
we
the
got 17 more years.
Correct, it's only
before there's
boy
growth.
enrollment, so that's only half of that class. So
I understand
boy
that,
and girl-
but that's
boy and girl
all it
numbers-
takes.
Boy and girl numbers fluctuate. Like,
I would suggest that I would look at maybe the decisions you guys made in the last year or two as a greater, I guess, indicator of growth that we're seeing from, the numbers that the athletic directors are kind of giving us now, or there's been a very bad decision.
Did you build in any growth, or are you just looking at the straight numbers?
just current straight numbers.
So I would add in growth.
So Renee, I'll give you a number to Brandon. It was great to give these today. So 11th grade right now, we have 42 boys. 10th grade, we have 44. 9th, we have 45. 8th has 40. 7th has 44. 6th is 37. And 5th is 48. And in your eyes, Brandon, what do you see? As groups have graduated, have you usually see the numbers go up from when they started in kindergarten, say flat, or does it go?
Right, so from the time they enter in kindergarten, I just look at kindergarten to graduation. I think I could go back to the graduating class of 2010. There's not a class that came in kindergarten that was stronger when they graduated. So everything has seen increases. Different classes have seen different amounts of increase. It may be 1 student, it may be 20 students, but every one of them has seen growth. Now, I don't break it down specifically that we see a 4th grade or 8th grade or
Totally. I'm not,
And that's independent of the expected growth the community is supposed to be seeing in the next 20 years.
Right, that's where that 1.5% is kind of come from, is historically what we've seen from kindergarten through.
Can I ask a question to the Wahoo Public Schools baseball players? Can you guys come up just so we can see them?
Sam. Chase for stepping in. There you go. Don't make your red hair with that hat on.
I don't mean to put any of you on the spot, but it really matters to me a lot what you guys think is in your best interest, because I do believe that we are duty bound to do what is best for District 39 students. Okay, because that's what we were elected to do, not what's best for the community, but what's best for District 39 and its students. So I want to know from you, if you have to make the choice between being more competitive in Class C with no co-op, or keeping the co-op and staying in Class B, what's your preference?
Keep the co-op and stay in Class B. I'd rather play better teams and lose and get better than play worse teams and not get as better, and I'd rather play with all my friends that I played with my entire life.
When we play smaller schools, we're not getting better. We're just beating up on those who don't have bigger teams. I'd like to point out Mr. Berry said that you need 20 kids for both the JV and a varsity. That's nowhere near true. You need about 15 kids per team, at least, to be competitive, to have pitching options, and to be able to develop players.
I would say keep the co-op and stay in Class B and just keep playing with our friends that we've grown up with for a while and keep those memories that we're growing.
I'd say keep the co-op because back onto the pitching thing as well.
you can have so many kids that can or are able to pitch, but then you overpitch them, and even with NSA rule, you have pitch counts, and you cannot go over that. So then you'd be ending up with if you don't have enough guys and all your pitch counts are used up, you'd be canceling games and taking away that experience and that time from the kids. And you'd also there would be a higher risk of injury with that as well with the kids, because they're overworking their bodies, over pitching, and pitching too much is also something that is a big risk with baseball. And if you keep doing that, by making it smaller, it's just going to cause more stress on the kids, because they'll be playing more. Unless you cut down the games, then you'll just be taking away the game from the kids.
Do you have any baseball boys who have a different perspective on that? I can't see who's around the wall. And I know that it's a big ask to come up here and stand, and contrary to your friends, I just want to make sure that we've got the students represented.
Are you wanting the Wahoo students only, or
Yeah.
students that are on the team?
The Wahoo Public School students, because like I said, I feel like that's what I was elected to do.
And you want former player students?
Yeah.
You want
Yes, I would agree.
three of them right here.
Well, absolutely, but I think really I'd love to hear from some freshman and sophomore, because it's their competitiveness that's at issue. And so I know we don't have a representative.
Sam, what grade are you?
Sam over there, but-
Sophomore.
Dan's a sophomore.
Ah, okay.
I've grown up with these kids, and I just like playing ball with them, and that's what I want to keep doing.
You guys did show a lot of courage standing up here tonight. Thank you. I guess I'd also like to hear from our coach. Coach Myers, do you want to go on the record here?
Yeah, I'll go on the record, I don't mind. I sent a letter to the board, I recommended that we go Wahoo only, Class C baseball.
Come on up, because then
Please come.
My recommendation to the board was that we go Wahoo only, Class C baseball. Okay, I know that that's not an easy, or that's not the popular decision, especially in this room right now. I've done this 16 years. We've made the state tournament 3 years. We're 1-6. In those times we've made the state tournament, you can't compare it to other sports. It's not realistic. Omaha is a juggernaut when it comes to baseball. Okay, that's the reality. I'm not going to stand up here. We have a baseball team. I want to back up a little. I love the fact that we start practice on Monday, and this is what I'm standing here doing. And now I have to go talk to these guys and look them in the eyes and tell them I have their best interests. So this is great. I love this. But it is what it is. So we're fighting an uphill battle by trying to go beat those schools in Omaha. It's the easiest way to say it. It hasn't happened in 18 years. Okay? I feel like as the coach of this team for Wahoo Public Schools, the school district that I work for, I owe it to those students to give them an opportunity to compete at a level. That's a level they can compete at. That is Class C. There's a lot of discussion on where we're going to be. We're Class C baseball right now. Okay? That's where we are. In 5 years, if we're Class B, then our school's big enough to play Class B, and we'll play Class B at that point. But right now, we are a Class C school. That's where we should play baseball. In my opinion. It's just one guy's opinion. Okay? And I hope that everybody understands that this has nothing to do with anybody, any Bishop Newman families. I love these kids. Okay? I get along with the families good, or I have, who knows. But I got to support the guys that are in this building that I work for, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Okay? I hope you guys understand that. I'm trying to give our kids a chance. Ultimately, your program is defined by wins and losses, okay? We're not having as many wins as we could be having. And if we play light competition, which would be Class C, because that's what we are, a Class C school, I feel like gives us a better chance to win baseball games. So I'll answer any questions anybody has. Sorry, I'm pretty passionate when it comes to this.
Well, Coach, I guess I got a question. So a co-op is not supposed to be entered into in order to give a school or a team an advantage with the other schools that they're going to compete against. I guess the mentality is that it shouldn't be manipulated, at least to go up. Do you think there's maybe an inclination it shouldn't be manipulated to go down too? I mean, if the school is already in the co-op and you actually are competitive, it seems to me kind of like jury shopping or judge shopping. I'm going to look for the judge is going to see things my way, which you aren't supposed to do in the practice of law. But as a coach, I kind of side with the parents that think it's good to be against stiffer competition, even if you aren't necessarily going to win a state championship in the near future, which you might, than it is to play down. And a lot of teams are opting up into the higher class in order to play that more competitive. Do you see an advantage to that as a coach, and maybe a disadvantage to playing down into C?
I don't think we're playing down if we go down. I think we're playing at the level that our school is at, which is Class C. I think we're playing up right now. I don't see any other sports. If we want to talk about competition, let's get our basketball teams in here and co-op together. How's that going to go? They could go play.
I've heard that many years how good Wahoo would be if both schools got
They
together.
could go play Class B. They could go play Scud in a couple weeks in the state championship. I bet there's not too many people that would sign up for that. So it is what it is. I mean, we'll play where we should be playing where we're classified in as Class C. I understand what you're saying, but we don't sign a lifetime contract. There's a reason it's a 2-year contract so that you can have this discussion. And ultimately, I would like to not have this discussion again. Like I said, we start practice on Monday, and once again, here we are having this discussion. It's only baseball. For whatever reason, drama follows the baseball program in this town, and I'm the most anti-dramatic guy that you'll meet. But every 2 years, here we are having this discussion again, whether it's with Newman, whether it's with Lincoln Lutheran, whether it's with Raymond Central, or Meade, or Craig, or schools that don't even exist anymore. I just don't want to have this discussion anymore when I'm done with it. I want to focus on playing baseball. That's what I want to focus on.
Do co-ops have to be 2 year?
Minimum of a 2-year agreement unless both schools agree to dissolve.
Okay, so in theory, could there be a 4-year partnership? It has to be 2 years.
Questions for Kyle? How long have you been head coach?
Who said that?
I did.
This will be my 9th year. 9th year, yeah. My 16th overall. This is the only job I've had. Got a job here out of college. Started off as a volunteer assistant. Since I've been here, I'm the 3rd head coach. So, yeah, we didn't win with the guy that was here before me. We didn't win with the guy that was before him. So, and when I say we didn't win to the standards of Wahoo, the town of Wahoo. And that's only one standard. You're going to win a championship.
So it's all about wins and losses.
Yeah. I mean,
Have you head coach like college baseball?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many played college baseball. That's a good question. I honestly don't know. I would say it depends on the year. The year that these guys played, I mean, we got Austin Scott here. He played Buena Vista 4 years. It's really hard to say. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Coach, I got a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned
Guys, I hate to be the guy, but he's just talking to us now. We have public audience comments. I apologize.
I don't know the
I let
protocol.
Rocky's roll. I should know. I'm sorry. That was his word. Board members, any other questions?
Yeah, you are in a crappy spot.
Yeah, it's a no-win spot. You're all in a no-win spot. I will say this, though. I do want to, and I don't want to make this go on any longer than these two. Coach Barry's gonna take the heat for this because he's the middleman between me and him. All he's doing is going off my recommendation. Okay, so you can hate him, you can blame him. He's doing he asked me what I recommended, that's what I recommended. So don't blame Coach Barry. The board members are gonna hear it. In theory, the administration should back up their coaches, which they're doing. And in theory, the board should back up the administration. So if you want to point fingers at somebody, point them at me. Don't point them at these guys. It's not their fault. They're doing their job the way it's supposed to be done. In my opinion, the way it's supposed to be done. So point your fingers at me if you want to point them at somebody. And I suggest to the board you vote the way you feel strongly about. Okay? If you feel strongly about one way, do what you think. Okay? Anything else for me? All right, thanks, guys.
Now, I want to ask this to Brandon, any other board members, were you guys all aware of where we were with the administration and what the recommendations were? Were you aware? I'm just, Rob, this is the first I heard your recommendation was today.
This is the first time that, I've had a couple people reach out to me.
Well, but it was not relayed to us until.
It just got put on the agenda.
No. His recommendation didn't happen. You just made a recommendation now I mean, we just made this recommendation this week and that's what we want to do? Or there hasn't been talk in the past?
We discussed it this week as to what would be presented tonight.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is, we got this on Saturday, this would have been nice to know, and I'm defending you, Rob, because you didn't know I didn't know.
I would have loved for you to call me.
Yeah,
We could have discussed
again,
this. But I guess I'm not gonna reach out to you guys. I don't know if that's really my purview this week.
That's a purpose of the meeting, I think, right, to discuss this.
Right, but Alex, wouldn't it make sense to you going into any agenda, you know what's going on? You're good with it?
No. I always want to know what's going on, but we also talk about transparency, and if we're talking about things behind closed doors, and then we're not being as transparent
Well, at
as we
least
should be.
for me, knowing that our administration knew that this is the recommendations, I mean, it doesn't give me time to ask questions. I didn't get a chance to ask questions to these guys. To just my own questions, I got some answer here, but not knowing kind of makes me wonder, well, just go, I'm sitting here not, I guess the way I want to put it is this way. If our administration knew that this is what they wanted to do, I could have had more questions for me to ask.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with that.
That's what I'm saying. Is I came out wrong the first time, and it's not Robert. It's not your fault. If I'd have known this, I would have asked more, had more questions ready for you.
Well, and to be fair to that, we don't have to make any decisions.
No.
This is just a discussion for tonight's agenda.
Yeah, there is no requirement that we take any action.
Totally, but we have to make a motion because it's an action item.
If we want action to happen, we'd have to take a motion, but if we don't want action to happen, we don't take any motion, and then it's just discussion, that's it.
That's my thought. I wanted to hear every one of these people. Any person that's called me in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, both sides. There's been one or two that were a little louder than I would like, but other than that, it's been enjoyable to hear both sides because it's important, and it's important for us to hear our school board's recommendation too. And Mr. Aaron's, it's good to hear the Newman side from the administrative side too.
So I've heard some talking about, who we represent and who we should be listening to and all that. I think as elected public officials for the district, every household in the district are people that we have an obligation to do what is right for everybody. Now, we have also an obligation to make sure that the students within this building and the elementary school building learn and are safe and have all the things that they need. But when it comes to a decision like this that obviously impacts the broader community and can bring a community together like it obviously has, then I think we need to open our minds a little bit to that aspect of our role as elected officials too. Everybody in the district that's of voting age gets to vote for the public school board. And you don't have to be a person that sends their kids to public school currently or in the future in the past in order to be on the school board. So yeah, we need to make sure we listen to what the current players from the local public side on the team are saying. We need to listen to the coach. We need to take all of that into consideration. But we can't exclude anybody from that as long as they're a member of the district. If they're from outside the district, that's their problem, not ours, right?
But I guess I just want to clarify that point, because are we not elected to act in the best interest of District 39 and the students who attend District 39?
Yes.
That's my understanding.
But not only that. I think our main obligation is not to do something that's detrimental to any of them. So the question is the co-op detrimental to any of the students? And maybe some of the underclassmen would say, yeah, because I'm not getting no playing time. Or a parent might say, yeah, because my kid get more playing time. I don't see that as a very valid excuse, because that excuse can be made on a 22-member basketball team, or a 40-member football team. That's just an excuse that comes with being an athlete, unfortunately. But I look at this as something that, in my day and age, when I went to Newman, could never have happened. Earl Graff was a teacher up here, and he was the golf coach. And because my brother's a really good golfer, I'm not, unfortunately, Earl was like, hey, they're going to start letting people opt in and play, if you're in schools, you want to go over and play golf for the public. And I'm like, oh, not a chance, not a chance. But then I started thinking, wouldn't that be interesting if that actually happened? And then now it is happening. It's really cool to see. And as elected officials for the district, it encompasses the whole city limits of Wahoo and beyond. Things that can build that community are extremely important, which is one of the reasons I ran for the school board. My kids all go to the Catholic school, but they interact with kids in the community. And to the degree that those interactions can be beneficial, it's important for all the parents to be involved in that. So that builds a stronger community. That brings more people into the community, more businesses into the community, makes the whole community stronger and happier and better. And we've heard that testified to tonight by the very players that are immediately affected by this decision. That's an extremely powerful point to make, because so many times we don't listen to the kids. But here we've had an opportunity, I didn't even know they were coming, to listen to what the actual kids in the school today think. That's pretty powerful.
But we're only putting Coach Wires in that position, right? I mean, if that theory holds, then why aren't we talking about a basketball co-op? Why aren't we talking, I mean, if a baseball co-op is good for the town, why isn't a basketball co-op good for the town, or a softball co-op good for the town?
For one thing, numbers. You don't need it, never have. Still, the baseball program, I argue, needs it. And in 2 years or 4 years or 6 years, it may not. But I think we'd be doing a great disservice to the next 2 to 4 years of players if we said, sorry guys, you guys got to split up. We're going to split your team up. And if I was a player on that team, I would be furious about that. I've played on a lot of athletic teams in the past. I would say, who has the right to split my team up without even asking me? Or when I got up and had the guts to say, keep us together, and they did it anyway? That's not a good decision to make.
Yeah, it's just hard to go against our coach and our administration, too.
Well, one thing we aren't here to do is to always support our administration or our coaches. Sometimes we got to make the better decision in spite of what they want.
Agreed, but they've got solid reasoning as well, right? So
They do,
it's
and their opinions are extremely important. There's no question about that. But I see more compelling arguments on the side of the state government.
How difficult would it be, or how long would it take to put together the numbers in which we've been using for the school programs? Splitting them in half, essentially, boys and girls, or something like that, and basing our decision off of that when we would become a Class B, a solid Class B. Would that take days, weeks, months?
I think the hard part would be to speculate where the Class B number would be. Right now, it's 190. We're a long ways from 190.
We're at 143.
Next year, 137.
And the other thing, let's be clear about, we're building because we're already over capacity. We're not, right? I mean, let's be clear about that. It's not like we're building for future growth. We're over capacity. That's why we're building, and we're planning for future growth. I don't want that to be lost on anyone, like we're spending $40 million and we don't have the numbers to support it. So let's be clear about that.
And I didn't say that to slam the decision to do the $40 million addition. I was just saying I don't trust the numbers of static growth based on obviously what you guys went through for the past few years to figure out we need to do an investment.
And I didn't mean static, I meant to get to 100. I don't foresee us for.
Yeah, and I shouldn't have said static. A little slower growth than I would anticipate if you're good.
But the 190 is with no movement, no additional teams adding, no.
Pure speculation.
Yeah, but again, well, we do know there'll be 3 more teams coming in next year, that's fact. Because Luper's one, I mean, and I think there was 2 other he said that have already reached said. So that's 3. So take, for example, we'll use the softball model one last time. Softball currently has, there's a total, I think, in class, what is it? Let's see, class B. We're in class B, there's 39 teams in class B, in softball. And we got how many in? Here we go, here's baseball. Class B baseball is 19, and in Class C it's 23. And if you, girls have, I think, 17 more teams in Class C1 now, in softball.
17 more teams
Than baseball right now.
Gotcha.
And I'm using the model again. I don't know how fast or how slow it's gonna be. I'm just saying is, that's what that number is today. That number is today puts us, our girls, in Class B. So what I'm saying is, yeah, the 190 number's there, but if say just, worst case, say 10 teams add next year, just say they do, we'll be back in Class B.
Depending upon if they're Class B or Class C schools.
Right, below, I'll just say their enrollment's below us. We'll just say their enrollment is below us. Chad, speak, Chad.
It took softball 10 years to be Class B. You just said earlier, 10 years is what you were looking at, right? If it was a 10-year process, softball model, it took 10 years for our softball team to go from C
Probably
to
more
Class
than
B.
that. That's just when I started in 2005.
And there was softball before that with
Yeah, in
folks.
2002.
If you're gonna talk, just respond to a question and then come up. Don't talk from back there because they probably can't pick you up on the video. Oh, I know, but you're fine.
So I get you're saying, so it took how many years? 10 years?
Over 10.
Okay.
Maybe the schools that are being built, Gretna East, Standing Bear, maybe there's another one, it doesn't matter. They won't have a varsity program for their first year, is that right? So they won't count in any of this for the 20.
Well, Class A goes into 2-year increments anyway, so like teams that opt out, they're in it for 2 years, so they don't really have, they don't get it. They'll count towards Class B, but they're opting up. So that number is actually getting counted for A, for B and C. So like, who's the 3? Highest, there's 3 of them.
They count for Class B.
Yes, even though they're opting up. So it shows 19 teams in Class B. There's
60.
There's 22, no, there's 22 actually teams that would qualify for Class B, but 19 only show up in Class B. But they count towards our number.
And they always will, every time you read 3 classes.
Unless they get to the 850. It's like Pius is borderline, like 20 away, and you know, if you think about the other 2, they're going to continue to grow and probably get to the 850 here shortly.
Omaha Westview is 395. Omaha Buena Vista is 367.
But that's is that this year or next year?
This is for next year.
Oh, I saw one that's higher.
That's only freshman sophomore classes, though, right?
Yeah, they're those year classes.
Those are Omaha Public Schools.
Omaha.
Standing Bear, their enrollment number that was sent to the NSA through NDE is 250. Lincoln Northwest, which was a brand new school, is 255.
Is that?
That's their number?
Is that their?
But that's, we don't have a boy girl number, right?
That's their boy number for next year.
For next year, so that would include all 3.
I have the NDE numbers that will do classifications for next year. Right here. Class B and Class C. Divide them together, divide them into, the higher number goes to Class C.
Yep.
And just to clarify, as we're speculating how long Walker would potentially be in Class C, just out of curiosity, like you said, if we're looking 10 years, if we're going to be in Class C for 10 years, does that make the decision different for you?
No, it doesn't, but it allows me to grasp more. I'm just looking at what the big picture is. I'm always gonna go back to what these students said and what just my own straw poll. I look at that now. It's not gonna change for me. My vote's not changing. I want to keep it together. But at least it gives me some data over 10 years from now.
So can we digest this and not vote on it tonight? There's a lot of information, some of it new. I'd like to do tonight. I would. I don't think.
I didn't know about it till Friday afternoon, so I'm like, I know we're over, don't know a lot of information.
If we decide to table this, I would strongly recommend everyone talk to Robert with all of your questions. If that's an email to Robert, require whoever you need to talk to get the information you need. But I would definitely do that.
You guys need any more time?
No.
Best of.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert.
Is there anything additional you guys need to put together? Getting specific. And if not, you can email it.
I was gonna say, last year, what was the cost share? Do you remember?
Yeah, I got it. Well, between three schools, it was 50, 25, 25, independent of the transportation cost. Public did all the transportation and then that cost of the program, 50, 25, 25.
And do we know why? Why did Walker do all the transportation?
I can't answer that. I think as we have in the past, I know that we discussed it.
And in terms of putting together the co-op agreement, who does that? Is that Rick Arms and Robert Berry? Do they?
The
come to
ADs,
terms?
the meetings work on that. It's been my experience in the past.
I would love to see just a much more educated guess on when, based on the growth that we're anticipating, when we would expect hypothetically to move to class. Permanently, if we were sober.
Right. Which will be difficult.
Sure.
But I think what will happen, I'll look at those numbers, but I think you need to probably keep a static Class B enrollment number to see when we exceed that. You're gonna have movement between schools, you're absolutely right. But trying to project which school's gonna do it becomes pretty difficult. But we can punch those numbers in, figure a percent and a half growth a year, which will impact that, and see when it gets to that point.
Everything that's gone on this last time I had hasn't been easy, so.
Yeah, we need to have, you guys want the cost agreements that have been in the past, or does that matter?
That would matter, yeah.
What else?
And Robert was able to put together actual dollars. So that's available as well. I guess we're able to see the actual dollars.
The cost of the program.
The cost of the program.
If there is something else, let me know, or contact Rob directly, that's fine.
Table that action item until our March meeting. There are a few board members that would like to do a little more discovery. We will table that action item until March, just so everybody knows. For some numbers, for some growth projections. And the previous co-op agreement to be reviewed.
My expectation being March, then we're probably gonna take action on it too. And at that point, either direct the administration to start working on a contract, or to say, forget it, right?
Board committee reports. Foundations meet. Head Start had a meeting. Bylaws are put together as far as Head Start goes. Ally's better doing a nice job with that. Nothing great as far as Head Start. Anybody else? We are to 5.1, facility projects update with our patient gentleman from DVH and FC. And SNS.
Sit here.
I think so.
Sit over there.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Sorry.
No,
It just
what
was
is that?
sort of,
Nothing to do.
it was very unusual to be control of it and then say, kind of wait 45 minutes. Hi, Trevor. I'm good. That's gonna make this look easier.
Thank you. Thank you. Time and consideration.
Mr. Chevy, thank you.
Sorry about the wait, guys.
And I appreciate it. But I really don't know more about baseball.
All right, let's keep her moving. Matt, you're up. Race the brakes.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the bids that MCL has put together for the rest of the project, the construction project. Before we jump into that, we just want to do a quick recap of the design. Shorter slideshow presentation, but just wanted to kind of give everybody an overview of where we landed. This is a slide that we've shown at nearly every single one of our meetings since the completion of master planning, December 21, January 22. So it's been on our radar for a while, but this really was the 6 needs for Wahoo Public Schools. With this project, we needed to address the clouded classrooms at the elementary, middle school, and high school, address the HVAC systems and some of the electrical that have been past due for a long time, CTE upgrades, cafeteria and servery expansion, because it is so crowded and very cumbersome to use right now, build a second gym, physical education, as well as parking and traffic flow improvements for the entire campus. So this was kind of our mantra throughout the entire design project. And with this overall kind of conclusion, we've addressed every single one of those. With the site plan that we're showing you now, you can see the addition to the west highlighted in blue. We have new parking for 90 additional stalls, increased circulation by adding an access road to the west that connects to the north-south road from the elementary school. We're putting in a new bus parking lot, relocating the practice field, alongside of improving drop-off for service and delivery vehicles. additional ADA sidewalks to accommodate the new addition. At the elementary school, we replaced the chiller and the controls for that project. Once we jump into the floor plan, those 8 highlighted items address those programming needs that we included with the project. So part of the overcrowding, we're building new classrooms for the high school, as well as a student commons, new CTE classrooms and labs that replace the existing that were needed improvement and expansion. So those new classrooms and lab space support multiple CTE labs programs. Special education flex classrooms, we have about 6 additional rooms that we're providing for special education. Again, cafeteria, servery, a new elevator down to the lower level locker room for ADA accessibility, indoor air quality improvements. Eric, maybe touch on just a few of what that means in terms of the existing building.
Yeah, so it's removal of the existing systems in the building in terms of comfort, energy, much of anything else. We're having up-to-date greater air quality and energy efficiency.
And then the new high school admin and secure entrance that is part of the new addition. And then, of course, the new gymnasium and the athletic support space highlighted as number 8. And so those new classrooms and SPED and flex classrooms are echo on the 2nd floor of the new addition. So it's a very efficient floor plate. And then the number 6 indoor air quality improvements also are happening on the 2nd floor. Yes. So we've nearly touched all of the building except for the existing gym and the auditorium with these improvements that we're requesting. And then we went ahead and just updated some of the renderings and some of the views of the project after a lot of the decisions and a lot of the meetings, and met with multiple user groups to kind of hone in on what the building looks like and how it functions. This is a bird's eye, just an aerial view of the addition. The existing building is kind of ghosted in the back. You can see the CT lab space on the left-hand side with the kind of beige, grayish concrete, precast concrete. The front door of the high school and the admin is right closest to the view. And then the classroom space is on the right-hand side. You can see the gymnasium, the new gymnasium box on the towards the back here. New closed equipment yard for new mechanical, electrical upgrades highlighted here, and then new entrances for activities as well. Anything I'm forgetting, Andrew?
I think something important here for, you can see it in this view as well, is establishing the entry for the high school. We did that, we separated that from the middle school, just one for student safety, but 2, announcing this is the front door of the high school, same with the activities, establishing these entrances, making wayfinding process smoother as it grows.
Yeah, and echoing some of the existing materials like the brick in the new precast panels, but a lot of using the efficiency of construction, but giving the school its own identity with the new high school. And then there's a view from the north side. Here's the athletics entrance. You can see the CT lab space on the right-hand side here with some overhead garage doors. Then the gymnasium in the background, and then here's a view of it's a perforated screen with some logo signage, and this will be the new athletics or activities entrance on that north side. So this is just wanted to kind of show you a cleaned up version. We've shown a lot of draft renderings, but this is kind of where the design ended up. Moving to the interior, this is the last slide. We want to show you what that high school commons looks like. Nothing in terms of special materials, but really wanted to lean into the blue and the warmth of the wood for the school branding. So you can see the center stair to connect the 2 floors, open space for flexible furniture, and then all the classroom entrances are highlighted. So it's easy for students to get to class, to use the space, study afterwards. We do have some placeholders for some signage and some graphics.
Are we gonna see that much bright blue in?
It's pretty intense, but it is a rendering, and but you with some of the actual materials, Cynthia put together some materials boards, so you can kind of see those in reality. But a lot of the times, furniture is kind of kept down and being a little more neutral than what we're showing here, just so you're not hit over the head with blue.
Well, and I could see that getting old quick, right? Being
We don't want it
very
to be
dated
Yeah.
with something that's
So-
that loud.
So one of the things, we kind of backed away from the bright blue at some of the booth location, kind of up here. But if we need to take it down a notch and just not do just so vibrant blue colors, we can certainly
I just want to make sure that we've got some timeless elements that aren't going to wear on
Yeah.
people.
Use the logo.
Well,
Well, it's a delicate balance between school
Yes.
spirit
Yes.
and not being dated.
okay.
But those were the last, yeah,
I believe that was a Pantone match.
yeah,
To the 287.
yeah.
That's wall tile.
Yeah, so the wall tile, these are the restroom entrances here, and then the blue, highlighting each entrance to the classrooms, so.
Tile's pretty permanent.
That's exactly right. So,
And furnishings,
Yeah, and
frankly,
furnishings.
you can swap out furnishings easier than you can swap out tiles
That's
and
true.
door frames. So, something to think about.
I don't know, you wait 100 years, it's back in style again. So it goes out.
I don't think Renee wants to
I won't be in the space every day, so.
Yeah, and there are multiple color options with some of the materials we've selected, like the tile. You can always switch it up if needed. We don't want to rebid anything because these guys
No.
will hate us, but we can kind of look at color and selection as we review shop drawings. So I think that was it for the design. Any questions or hand it over to
Matt, can you send that to me?
Yeah.
Please? Thank you.
Definitely. Let Brian and Trevor take it away.
Yeah, so you should have received the new Exhibit A amendment establishing a full GMP. So this exhibit supersedes the previously approved exhibit, so it captures basically everything that was in the previous one that was approved, plus everything that wasn't in the previous one. So this is an all-inclusive, full GMP package that we're basically for the project. So we were able to meet the construction committee a couple of Mondays ago, review pretty much the same document, the numbers, whatnot, go through that really work to fill. I had some notes, and Brandon, I sent you an email what this contained, I kind of bolted out those changes that came out of that committee's meeting, that are reflected in here. So rather than going through all the numbers, if you guys have specific questions, comments, that's what we're here for tonight. Should you have some?
One is very minor, but in the GMP itself, section 7.9.1.9, pre-construction services should not be included in fee. Again, it's very small dollars, but we're tracking the
We should
contract
have just
language.
a single $10,000
Yeah.
pre-con fee.
But it looks like that was calculated into the project subtotal, and then the 2.45% MCL fee was calculated onto the project subtotal, at least when I ran it through my calculator. So again, they're small dollars, it's just, can we put that below the line?
Good point.
And then the bigger issue that I had concerns about were just the clarifications exhibit. I have not studied that enough to know, we've included this, we've included that, we've included the other thing. Can it say we've included everything that's in the plans and specs? So we know that we haven't left something Because I have not gone through to say, okay, everything you have listed in thermal and moisture protection encompasses every single thing that is in the plans and specs. I can't tell what may be left out. Are there things left out?
No, so the drawing specs drive what these numbers are based on. We don't exclude anything that's shown on drawings. Unless it's shown to be like by owner or not by contractor or something, that's it.
So then why have this kind of finite list of items that you picked off in each category? Because by including some, you're potentially excluding whatever is not listed here. That would be my concern.
You do more of these.
I believe you would have to actually, we would actually have to physically say we exclude that in order for it to be considered excluded. We kind of hit the big bullet points to reassure you that everything's in there as best as we can, but we're not excluding any little finite thing that didn't get put into those clarifications. As long as they're on the plans, it's in the project.
Could I send you a couple sentences to put at the top of that exhibit? For you to look at?
We can review it,
Yeah, for you to look at.
No, that's good.
Just to meet both of our concerns. I do completely understand, and I have no doubt that that's what you were doing, is you were just kind of giving us a high-level summary. But from a contract interpretation / litigation perspective, which we don't anticipate, having some things included, it could be argued that everything not listed is excluded. And I just don't want us to travel down that road.
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's right.
Believe it or not, that was all I had.
Man, we're good this time.
I know.
Good job. So I also sent out kind of a comparison doc that's not part of this amendment, but it is a document we've been looking through the process, the comparison of available. Brandon, did you send that out? Did they have that? So you can see the delta between where we're standing. This is a supplemental document that we can kind of compare as we go through the project with some of those allowances that we carry to track overall dollars. That's not a part of this. Part of this document. It's carried on.
Brian, let's go back, on that back to the earthwork, 31.1, 584, 469. Wasn't that bid lower?
What's that?
Wasn't the earth, on the earthwork, wasn't the bid where you used the bid we had that was low, wasn't that 478?
It probably was.
Why is it 584 now?
Because that was the number that we used to create our GMP. So that gives us the flexibility to scope the contractors out, make sure we got the right contractor in there. And then, once you guys make your decisions, Brian makes a suggestion, and then you guys make your decision to offer that suggestion, whether it be the lower guy, the higher guy. There's a buffer in there, so basically, I usually run like right in the middle of the bids that we get for a GMP, just to give that flexibility to make sure we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and not have money there to support. We're already dealing with that on earthwork, where we've got people wanting to go with a higher number than what we're suggesting. You know, that, if we'd have done that on, put the lowest number in there every time, we would have ran out of money quickly.
584 is working. That's not the true number, it's a number you're throwing in there between the two.
That maybe encompasses more than just this contract. This isn't broken out.
Yeah, I just saw, the last time I saw there was two additional lines, and it's not on this one, fine grading and then removing spoils. It's no longer on there, was there before?
It's rolled up into that number.
In that number?
Yes, basically numbers you're seeing on this sheet won't match some contract amounts to the team. There's gonna be things like.
Electrical, not gonna match it.
subs on that, and I want to get that to you guys again this week. There are some more priority than others, help out the particular department with us. That we are now, good one. They didn't know that, so they're some of the table for a while, but I'll give you that to approve by direction. Right now, they're just kind of out there, just advise our
Nothing we need
decisions
to
being
do.
made when it gets down.
No alternates have been decided.
Included, that are included in here, they're just listed, and then we can add them in.
Based on, not that I think it's a good idea to get right at 40,500,000 without, if we added every one of them in, given the delta that you factored in, all the contingency staying in place, we could still add all the alternates, right? Based on the delta.
We still have to price a few of them, just because some guys are backing in with numbers that we're comfortable. But ultimately, we're probably gonna be pretty close to that delta for all in. It's you know, the nature of a GMP project, which we do on a lot of projects. Your priority list, there's gonna be someone need to make my decisions sooner than later. As we go through construction, contingency, we get passing risk, contingencies are looking good. We can have a discussion, here's, you know, there's $250,000 that I'm completely fine spending on contingency on and all in that situation. You know, it's a, you know, almost a 2-year project. We could pick some of these things up down the road.
And that also works towards your earthwork question you just asked. Any money that's left from that, keep tracks too, and it will let you know, hey, you've got this X amount of money, if you want to spend it.
So then I think what Renee, you probably want to do, at least I want to rank our alternates, so that's the highest priority to lowest.
Well, and that's what I was gonna share. Because of timelines, highest priority may not line up
Right.
with timeline to be able to make decisions.
So it's gonna-
Correct?
Both will play in. For
Right.
example,
It's playing.
paving
the
a
ins
parking
against
lot's
the-
probably not your highest priority decision maker, but it's the one I need to know within 2
Right.
weeks.
Cohen would say it's pretty high,
Yeah.
but understood.
So when you say 2 weeks, you literally need a decision before our next board meeting on that?
This one could be?
In a month.
Yeah,
4 weeks.
close.
Can it wait for our next board meeting?
I will talk to the report guy when I get there. I'll have a report guy.
Do you think we will have numbers on the rest of them for purposes of getting our arms around what things are gonna run and rank it?
Not to tell you, you should reach out to them. They've been involved, in this, right? They're local. We haven't.
No, I have
I think
recommendations out.
I think Brian has time.
Yeah, but I just use him because he's the first one. Do we have any other local?
Scotch,
He's in our work.
he got it.
Oh, just earthwork?
Just,
No,
just
all
earthwork.
over.
Women's going local.
Yeah, we had, what we,
Earthwork guy.
five guys did it.
But we were able to get, what, 2 other locals?
Yeah,
The
plus
Carter.
Scotch, the Carter.
Plus Scotch.
Yeah, yep.
Sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Shed said it was just a little bit too big. Not much.
See it again.
Kobe Shed said it was just a little bit too big. Jared thought he could handle that. So,
So Brian, for clarification on some of those individual pieces, the earthwork, those things, do you need direction from the board? Do they need to take action as to
So when I
your
send it,
recommendation?
when I send it to you, the clock starts contractually 14 days. If I don't hear anything, I'm signing them up. Basically, you tell me if you have, it'd be nice if you could say, yeah, we have no objections, I can hurry up and get the contract done. But contractually, if 14 days expires, then I can take action on that.
Okay.
I think the ones that you have had discussion or brought up, plenty of time. I mean,
Okay.
Just maybe a point of clarification. Who are you sending this to? Just the commission?
Look, they don't know that for certain. Yes.
because I forwarded on these guys, I have.
Because.
I can send it to the whole board.
Well, I just posed this question. I don't know that the committee objections, you can sign them up.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't.
And that's why I
feel
asked for
comfortable doing that.
clarification.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
We just can't, you can send them to all of us, we just can't all reply, we can't hit reply all. Correct. You can only individually send it back to Brian, or to one of us.
Yeah, to the clerk, but keep in mind that 14-day clock is.
No, I
ticking,
totally
So
get
we
it.
can't actually wait to
Well,
get
that's
to
why,
the next meeting.
when I got it, I saw it was only 3, so I sent it to both of you, two for me. I know you, I don't know.
I'm assuming the local guys that got on board, that we've already talked about, are basically the ones that we're probably gonna hear the most about. The others, unless you have some stuff out there I don't know about, everything else probably not really.
Right.
That's assumption.
I'm
Somebody's
just,
already in the past and brought up and told me about.
I don't know,
That's true.
is there a way for us to help expedite that for them, short of getting together?
I think.
I mean, if we were to each of us individually say to Brandon, no objection, no
Yeah,
objection,
I
no
would say-
objection, could we do that?
Maybe. My whole problem with this whole thing is that I come in so late.
Right.
Usually when I'm on a board or involved in something of this magnitude, I have somebody on staff that is doing all this analysis for me that I can go to and ask questions confidentially and say, is it all looking right to you? Is there something that somebody's missing? Is this in our best interest? And I don't think we have that here because we don't have an engineer on staff. And so who do I go to ask those kind of questions? Like, to be honest with you, is there a way to save money? Is this really necessary? Is there an alternative that would be a better option for us? Who do I go to? Because I don't have the capability of doing it. I'm a lawyer, not an engineer. I need an engineer that I can talk to that says, look this over for me, and I'm gonna ask you some questions, but I also want you to ask me some questions. Do I know what this is? Do I know what we're talking about here? And I need somebody that's gonna advocate for me, for this school district, because you guys are in it for profit, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's been no indication that anybody's being dishonest in this at all. But I can't, in good faith, vote yes on anything right now, because I don't have the information I think I need. And I haven't been able to bounce those off anybody with the education and the experience and the expertise, so that I can confidently say, this is the best decision possible.
Brian, I'm guessing there is, with larger projects, school districts hire people that work for them to basically be the middleman.
There are owner advocate type, like Jacobs just ran OPS's bond, giant, all workers, all their money, they had Jacobs as like an owner advocate, right? So we worked as a CM, they were reviewing almost everything we did, making recommendations to their board. I mean, that was on, I forget the dollar amount that it was, but a lot of school districts like this, projects like this, like we're your advocate, you have to trust us a little bit that we have your back. We're gonna do everything in your best interest, that's what, that's why you hire us, that's why we do what we do. I get your concerns too, you want someone to bounce things off too, but I haven't really experienced that unless it was like a hired owner advocate. That's what they do, is a third party project manager, CEO, they don't have guys that just.
An owner's rep is basically.
Owner's rep, yeah.
So the question I have, do we have time to do that, and how much does it cost? Because neither one of those are an option for us. I just abstain, and you've got enough votes.
I would say A, don't have the time, if you want to open in December 24.
See, that's the problem.
B, it's going to start costing more money unless they start getting these guys in the contract.
I know.
As we have changes or something that happens, then like, you can find an advocate that you trust that knows construction and engineering enough about stuff, and then I'm not sure what the best.
The best scenario is they've been involved since the very beginning. A lot of times they're on board before we.
Right. And anything monetary value, I mean, those guys are reviewing what I do.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a check and balances as a team, private team.
Throughout design, we've been running things by Brian and Trevor just to make sure we are doing the best. The availability of subs, what's the best, most economical material that's still high level quality. So I think between MCL, BVH, we've been kind of cross-checking each other, but also at the same time getting the board's feedback, user feedback.
Yeah, and you're paying us for construction administration throughout.
Yeah.
So
So all of the technical aspects of mechanical, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, telecommunications, we're gonna validate that, and we're gonna make sure that they're here in the documents, all of that. But specifically for your question, you know, this is on letting this work go. Yeah, that would boil up some to you, but
Bob, I think there may be an opportunity, and it's something we should probably think about, because I feel like on a cost plus contract, it's open book. We're going to see, the reason we went with the CM arrangement was so we could have the healthy tension between, here's what we're designing, well, you know, your budget isn't going to allow that. We have alternatives that are cheaper, but then I think it's a totally different issue when you start to look at the pay applications and saying, okay, send me every receipt for everything that you have billed me for this last month. I worry that that would consume so much of Brandon's time if Brandon's the guy who's got to go through hundreds, payroll records, right? I mean, every single thing. But in order to approve the payment, that's really what we need somebody to be doing. I don't know that Brandon has the capacity.
I don't think that's not his job description.
It's not, but I mean, he is the representative for the school at this point. So it falls to him unless we get someone else to do it.
Are we concerned that the time frame brings somebody up to speed in addition to their potential hourly rate salary for the project is going to be cutting a lot of roles?
They're expensive. A good owner's rep
And if every month
is
costs us,
expensive.
what is it, a couple $100,000, maybe you got 80, 120, and
Well,
advocate. I'm just
No, I totally agree.
Prosing the question.
I would say, and you guys maybe know, but a 2-year project, the numbers I'm used to seeing is 150 to 200,000 per year for somebody who's good. So you're looking at 300 to 400, am I in the ballpark, for a qualified, experienced owner's rep?
And how long would
Renee, where do you know, where do you get this knowledge from? Previous jobs? I mean,
In the construction,
like what, give me an example of construction, what kind? And what are you doing?
vertical, it was clubhouses, cabins, you know, that kind of project. And
Dollar
this-
value is about the same, higher, or?
all over the board. A lot of it came down to how suspicious was the owner? And how much were they willing to pay to put their mind at ease? So a lot of that comes down to how much do you trust your partners? And I know trust but verify, we just have to look at what we think we can potentially get back through spending that.
I don't think Bob's, I don't think it's a lack of trust with you guys, but in Bob's situation, the guy's situation, we do. I mean, they're voting on things that's tough.
It's a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
But I can't say Alex knows a whole lot more, because really a lot of it has been done at the committee level and then just reported up.
No, she's just picking up.
She might be.
No, but I mean, do you feel like you haven't been knee deep in the details?
No.
Because
Certainly not as
the
much as
committee's
you
been-
or the committee.
Oh, I
Just
got,
the
That's all I-
deep details there.
I mean, I would say maybe 20% of the projects we work on have separate owners, rep, separate owner advocate, somewhere in there. But a lot of them.
but a lot of them
they have
public or
PMs.
private?
But they're more institutions that continually build, so they have maybe.
Yeah, they got an engineer staff.
Yeah, they got place for that.
How long does it take for something to what they do every day? In a week, are they kind of on that? Or is it gonna delay?
It's gonna, you can speak to it, it's gonna take a while to get them up to speed, they would be probably available quickly.
Yeah, they could be available quickly to start learning by the time they leave at late at night. It's might start to impose on the overall schedule and delay getting things rolling. As we talked about, getting site work done, getting the practice field, and there's a lot of things that need to fall into place for these guys to will take time to onboard somebody like that.
Didn't Ashland, for example, use someone, I think theirs was what, about a $60 million bill?
Yeah, they did not. Housing was like that. Tom Walsh is just day-to-day.
Did they do CM?
Yeah, that's the contract they have with housing.
So we're doing in Fremont right now, there is an owner rep, but it was the former facilities, Roscoe, that was part of Fremont. So he was just helped advise, he was a facilitator, just all the things that we're talking about. But it was still up to the construction team, the design team to filter, to listen, to kind of get things under budget and on schedule. So and it's no different than what we're talking about for one.
So my thought is that it would give me a lot of peace of mind and feel like I would be much more able to, get myself behind this if we had somebody like the guy in Fremont that would just come in and consult with us. And if that slowed us down for $100,000 and we had to tack on another $100,000 to the overall project because we delayed it a week or two or something like that. And if he ran us $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, my thought would be that somebody like that could conceivably save us at least that much money because they are going to be a strong advocate for us. They know how this stuff works. None of us do. And I would have pushed for that hard at the very beginning of this whole process because even then I would have said, you give me 2 years to work on something like this, I'm still not going to know everything I really need to know to approve a $40 million contract. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a good investment and it's a very small percentage of the overall cost of the project. And it protects us all, protects all the taxpayers, and it doesn't really impose on our contractors much, if anything, at this point. They can move forward with all the dirt work, with all the prep work and everything. I think while we get somebody up to speed, maybe that slows down a bit. I don't know.
I think we'd have to do some cost benefit on that, because again, is it worth it? Yeah, if they can find us or save us the amount of money we're spending on that. Obviously, we're past the point of no return on money. I don't think we can afford to go and start design over to have somebody say, gosh, if only you had done it this way, you could have saved yourself $250,000. I don't know that you can afford to do that at this
I think
point.
we're in a pretty good situation here too, because the bids came in well. Brian and Trevor produced a document that we're under budget, and there's, we can consider some of the bid alternates too. So, it would be a different situation if we were looking at PE to cut square footage or cut scope out of the project to fit your budget. By having gone through this entire process and we're under budget, it's a good sign for us at least that the process is working.
Probably especially because the design is already there, and we're really just looking at the bids now and the competitive bids. So, well, I see we just started. Can't we just weld like shipping containers together?
I've seen some pretty cool projects.
Yeah.
Not to compare you to another school, but like, I know you're not Gretna, but at Gretna, we had a building committee. We presented everything to the building committee. They gave the board a lump sum number, that was it. They didn't get to see everything that you guys had seen. It was just the way it was set up on that particular job. That was a $125 million school. It was all.
Well, that wouldn't fly in Wahoo, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's.
Well, and I guess to tack on that, if we needed to set up a process where we're going to be meeting with these guys probably twice a month, to review the process, answer questions. We need to set up something during that time to review applications, to help answer questions. We can certainly do
When you say you're meeting with who twice a month?
that. Just
We'll have
Maybe HMCL together?
yeah, with,
And
and the building committee. So that could be a scenario where we could bring people into the fold and have be able to ask questions.
Yeah, I don't know, because we need to figure out who for OAC.
Yeah, we need to have a pre-construction
I
meeting.
think it's Brandon Keller.
Yeah.
I just,
And it's pretty common for you guys to review or pay us.
Since the president
we have
left,
to
I'm
sign
gonna
off.
step in for a second. You're out of order, all right, so, the floor right here, ask your
An
question.
over advocate, you're throwing out these large numbers, but do we know that? And does it have to be an over advocate company? Can it be somebody that has experience, or it was say a large company and now is retired, knows this inside out? Why can't it?
Absolutely. There's no magic.
See,
But you
that's
have to
what-
have expertise,
Because-
right?
Exactly, so the expertise part, I do not have, you don't have, we don't have. They do, and they do. But again, I think I'll feel a lot comfortable for these two. Not
I
having,
feel comfortable for all, sorry.
but
for all of us.
for these two, because right now, they have, our two board members abstain on votes all the time. We're a board of 6, not 4.
So what are we proposing, like to put everything on hold? and
No, I don't think that's,
find
I don't think
someone?
his intention was that. I think you still can find somebody, to bring them in, get them in their meeting, what, you guys had twice a month?
yeah,
And let them kind of get up to speed. I'm just throwing things out, I'm not saying this is yes or no, but we don't have to slow it down, because we know what the earth bids are, we've seen them. You know what this is, but just somebody that Bob, that they can go back to all of us, say, hey, these are some things at the last meeting I want you guys to be aware of. That we might not ask that question, and because you do this all the time, you're not going to tell us, because this is just, we should know this. But he may find 4 or 5 questions that says, hey, these are things I see you guys need to be aware of, so you understand the cost of this and how it can affect the bottom line.
But I guess my question for you, we are holding things up if we don't sign this today, or approve it. And what you're proposing then is,
But by this, so if we sign this today, we can't hire somebody?
of course you can.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So why does that slow it
depends-
down?
It depends on what, do you want to hire someone to review this before we approve it, or?
The contract?
The GMP amendment.
Okay, the amendment, okay, that's,
Yeah, because they're not gonna lock anybody in this until we're locked in. And so if we say, we're not comfortable signing this, we wanna get somebody on board, what that means is they can't sign up anybody who is represented in this new GMP amendment. By definition, that slows down the project. It holds up everything.
That's my concern, and then if we hire somebody to come in, all they're gonna say is, well, that could have been done better, or you could have made a better decision there, but you can't do anything about it now, because you've got your contract signed, contract just ready to roll, there's no getting toothpaste back in the tube. So that was my question initially, is do we have time to do that? And I think you guys are shaking your head no.
Yeah, the owners reps that I've been involved with in projects don't do a ton in pre-construction.
Okay.
To rely on the experts that design team, to rely on experts. They might help voice the owner's direction, budget, whatever, help guide their overall project budget money, which is what that one document's doing. This is the overall budget. During construction, they're gonna stipulate C meetings, total review, pay apps, usually that goes to them. They're gonna handle and help you buy furniture, they're gonna help you with all your allowance, contract stuff, and double check things during the construction process. What they're seeing on site, what's talking to you, to come back to you. It's definitely too late to go back for
I see
drawing
that.
reviews, script reviews.
I see value in that. by the
Yeah,
way.
maybe,
But
not the furniture, but
as we go into
some of that other
construction,
stuff,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's when I usually see the most.
I mean, we're kind of using two terms a little bit interchangeably. They're two different roles, right? So like an owner's rep, like a Jacobs that does OPS or project advocates, they are cradle to grave. They're very expensive. Jacobs is the largest engineering company in the world. And versus the project manager, your interface, which would traditionally be Cohen. But obviously Cohen has to run school and
and everything else, right? So, you know, if you wanted to hire as part of the cost, an interface that can help you keep on top of things and validate costs and coordinate with you, like, hey, we're moving into this part of the school next week, we have ceiling tile, you know, all that stuff, that's your owner responsibility to keep the project moving. That would be a different, that could be like a retired facility director or something. And we see that quite a bit.
It's more of a project.
Yeah, we aren't talking about the investment with the real. So, well, maybe that's something we could explore. Maybe have Brandon go out and talk with the guy in Fremont. You guys seem to know him. I've never heard of him. You know, and get some ideas who we can talk to and see if something can work. I think that'd be something we should at least consider.
I know we talked last meeting about you possibly being, and this doesn't help, but this is bringing you up to speed, being on the building committee. Would that be helpful?
Yeah. I mean, because I'm not even on the building committee yet, am I, officially?
Well, we gotta remember, the building committee you're talking about is not.
Oh, that's right, they're different. That's right.
Yeah,
we had a conversation a while back about putting it on.
And that, I think we potentially settle on, we'll find nothing on it.
Yeah.
But would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe that's where some of this discussion will take place is, you know, are we going to bring somebody in, would it be, how much of it cost?
I think that's a decision that comes to the board. That's not a committee decision.
Sure.
You want to throw around the idea there, the month cost us $100,000, so I think it's like, we're not gonna sign this tonight. Now,
Well, I think we're signing,
But I'm just saying for conversation's sake, if we do wait a month, and we find an advocate or a project manager or whatever the term is, now all of a sudden, we're basically right back to level water, because we waited a month, it cost us money, and we're trying to save money.
And if we go back to redesign, guess what? Our design fee just went up. Because they're not
I
gonna
wasn't gonna
redesign
say that, but-
for free.
And I think the reason I kind of said I don't need to be on that committee is for the very reason I'm talking about tonight. There's nothing I can do about what's already happened. I can say, well, gosh, I think we should go with the 3-level gym, you know. But that's not gonna happen. So I don't think I really need to go back and learn all that.
Just basically being brought up to speed and making sure you're comfortable with where we're at today and anything moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, not just you, I'm sorry, both of you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if that's a building
Yeah, it might not be.
committee
That was
issue
just
or
my
if that's
thought, yeah.
sharing documents, whatever documents you guys.
Yeah, I think we get documents, everybody needs to see documents, not just the building committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, for at least review.
That way they can have questions, they can reach back out.
Any necessary action, that good conversation. Ready?
As amended, right, I would make a motion to approve the GMP as amended by the change related to reconstruction and a revision to the clarification to make it clear that if something is listed, it doesn't mean everything else is excluded.
You're gonna write that down for me, right?
That's why we have a video.
But you can't hear very well.
Stop writing.
I quit writing.
Yeah, that-
You do that before, and it's like, ah.
Yeah,
I don't
I'll
want that.
between us, we'll get to where we're going.
I got it. I know where you're going with it. I don't.
There's a motion.
Okay.
Has there been a motion? Wait,
Renee made the motion.
We need a second.
I've been called for both.
Second.
Discussion.
And
Knowing there's enough votes, I'm probably still gonna abstain from this just because of my vast lack of knowledge.
And then it's not to exceed the dollar amount proposed, right?
Absolutely.
Ready? Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Bob?
Abstain.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Di?
Abstain.
5.3, special inspections, material proposal. So the building committee with MCL BBH on the building project is being written bids. You can see them attached down below. Olson Terracon Teal. Teal was the lowest, is that correct? Correct. Are there any questions to any of the three bids?
I do have a question. As I read Neil for Teal, there was no cap on their fees. As I read Olson, they did have a not to exceed number. There was roughly 5-ish thousand. Anyone, is that how, have you guys reviewed those? And so then the question is, with no cap versus
Right.
an extra $5,000 for a cab, I'm not sure Olson is the smarter.
Did Olson already do some additional, they've done some additional work already?
Olson's done some work with you guys.
Yeah.
Teal did our cores.
Okay, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we worked with both.
The one,
We could approve it and say, that's our cap on
On,
the deal.
well, we have to be able to write it into the contract, otherwise it would be a breach if we sign it as written.
Yeah. Well, the motion would be that, signed with the amendment that it's, that their number is not to exceed the number they gave us.
Yeah, and you'd have to go back to them and say, you've got to rewrite this.
If they say-
And that will clarify, then they'd say, oh, well, that's not what we want, we can go with Wilson, then maybe for a second.
at the back of the second there,
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm not opposed to that if you'll go back to them and tell them it has to be an authorization.
Okay, so expectation, independent of motion would be to talk to Teal, see if they will put a $5,000 cap.
No, their numbers need to be a not to exceed number.
Okay, not to exceed number.
Will that hold up our time frame, right?
Yeah, our first testing will be for 4 weeks. But, so they all get a little bit different, because they're gonna be very specific when you look at the cap, exactly what the number probably includes, is the number of trips, the average rate, so many concrete breaks, soil tests. We at GCs call them out as needed. So just, when they give you that number, they'll bill you every month. And once in that bill, you just very, pay attention to what, remaining or whatever.
Maybe this project manager could do that.
Well, so to Bob's point, my question is, as our architect, did you review that to say, okay, this is the number of trips they included, this is the number of trips, so we're comparing apples to apples? Did you guys look at it with that degree of care in comparison?
Relatively between Olson, Terracon, and Teal, they were within the same ballpark. I mean, this is normally what we would expect for the time frame for all three. There are variances depending on the scope of work, but they had full access to our documents, our specs, they understood the schedule. So there are nuances, but for the most part, these are all apples to apples comparisons for these proposals.
In terms of number of visits, type of tests?
The type of tests, what they're testing.
Each one is gonna make an assumption how many it's taking.
Right.
It's like, well, it's like 25, so that's just.
Yeah.
The other guy thinks it's 20, you know what I mean? So it's, just to be very clear, whatever you get, because the ability to say you can charge your fares.
But
Just kind of dash with everything in the cap.
going back to Teal and asking if they are comfortable with having a not to exceed for what they have in their proposal.
Teal did the geotech, right?
Teal did
I will say, in the past, so Teal did the geotech report, soil borings, they have recommendations built in their geotech report. Not that they have to be testing agency, but it's usually easier, because they can ask the geotech engineer in-house what a recommendation would be for bad soils. We're gonna get the surcharge that we have to do, which 50% of the height of the fill across the gym. We're gonna monitor that. And their engineers have already done the calcs on that soil. They'll just be way more knowledgeable, usually easier to work with. That's what you have.
And that would be my question, if the company that runs the testing, just because they have.
A lot of times they will be the one, whoever did the geotech will do the testing, but it's not every time. It's a little bit, maybe sometimes. Olson will have access to the geotech report just like Teal did, but their in-house engineers have done homework already.
They're familiar with the job and probably get a little bit better pricing because of it.
Other questions? What's the discussion? All right, so we need a motion to approve Teal as our inspections and material as per their bid, but Brandon needs to call and check, maybe for Brandon to have Teal bid not to exceed.
I think we approve it subject to the condition that the bid be converted to a not to exceed.
It's actually in the bid already. These are the not to exceed. And I'm second.
I think I did, did I do it?
Yeah, you made a motion. Any discussion?
Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
All right, any issues with the school calendar as presented on your agenda?
I didn't have an issue with it, I just was curious. I know we discussed this last year at the same time, we get Mother's Day,
Yes, we
graduation.
did.
Is there any other, even that Saturday, I know there was, I don't remember all of it.
Here's what I would say, absolutely doable. I would push this out a couple of years if you want to change the day, because you have people from the freshman and sophomore classes now reserving sites for receptions, just because they're so limited.
But they're reserving those a week before, a week after.
No, they get to reserve the days because there's that much competition. When you talk, because I think Newman graduates on Saturday, and we're on Sunday, and so it's pretty specific about the date. I've had parents, I get numerous emails every year. When do you anticipate graduation to be for the class of 2026, whatever it is? So I am not married to Mother's Day by any stretch.
But if we do it, we should go 2 years out.
You can change it to whatever you want, but it should probably be at least 2 years out before that change happens.
2 years out,
That would be a sophomore year.
the 26 year or the 25 year?
26 would be my recommendation.
25, 26.
So the graduates of 2026,
Thank you, Matt.
they would have enough time. I would not do the class of 2025. But again, that's just my recommendation.
That's a good idea. I would support that.
Where do you want to move to?
A date? How about Father's Day?
Live on June.
Father's Day sounds like a really nice day.
Okay.
The kids would hate you.
Oh, they could be
You
nice.
know, I-
Like I said,
Yeah,
what does the school have currently on
I think it's
They-
district baseball, correct?
It's usually district.
district baseball?
Yes. Not state.
That's what usually falls on Mother's Day?
No, on the Saturday.
Oh.
Because it's always a complication with Newman graduation, because the kids playing baseball in graduation.
The week before, we're running it, some weeks, for some years, it'll be April.
Correct.
And
The week after is.
The week after is open.
Is it open?
If you go, let me look here real quick.
I believe it's state track, right?
So,
Well, which-
under the current model, it wouldn't impede with state track. You could go Friday, Saturday, Sunday of that. Yeah, because state track for us right now is Wednesday and Thursday. If the NSA ever changes it or alternates it, it would fall on Friday, Saturday.
Probably avoid Friday at all costs.
And the grant scheme, how many state track qualifiers do we have among the seniors at the beginning of the year?
Depends on the year. Last year was a bunch, some
Yeah,
years it's
not
not
too
near
much.
as many.
Plus you get siblings.
What's a bunch, 30 of the seniors?
Of a particular school. I didn't say last year.
I think it was a huge
But
number.
I would venture to say, Renee, and I could.
12 to 15 kids.
We would face a lot more heat from mothers that miss their kids' graduation. Watching the stage show. And having Mother's Day, graduation, whatever it is.
I would probably agree with that
Yeah.
statement. 100%.
For track mothers, yes, I would agree.
I might go on them, I might relationship.
Yeah, maybe.
Never.
It's been a long night. But I mean, you're obviously, this is America, say what you want.
We're good, go ahead.
I would agree.
So we'll look at maybe making a change in 26.
Sunday, is that what it's gonna have to be, just to avoid activities?
Yeah, I mean, at that point,
So
I don't
third
think there's
Sunday
any
of
problem
May?
with Sunday. And state track is not on Sunday. And the kids could still get out early, there's no magic,
Sure.
I assume, right?
Their day wouldn't change, but they would get out, right? It stays the same, they would just have a little extra time.
It may change in a day or two,
Right.
but it's not gonna change weeks. What you would see is they'd be out for a week and a half, as opposed to 3 or 4 days. Whether that's an issue or not, I don't know. The other thing, best case scenario, we don't have a single snow day, everybody would be out of school before graduation. No, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, because senior parents are gonna be there anyway. They're not going on
Yeah,
vacation,
that's
it's
what
already
most-
planned. Anybody else, if they don't
That's
go, they
what
don't
we're
really
doing.
don't care, yeah. It's fine.
Okay, so look at the third Sunday, 2020, starting in 2026.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
As far as this year, any problems? The only caveat I would throw on this year is down at the bottom under May, you'll see one float staff day in the summer. We've got staff in the summer all the time and we end up paying them to come in and do work. This came directly from the teachers of, instead of having another day out of school during the school year, put that day in the summer when Josh is having them in, or when the building principal is having them in, allow that day under contract that they're responsible for, that they can sign in and check off with the principal, and use that contract day there.
Brandon, I'm sorry, what month did you say that you had that?
It's
The
under
last-
May,
okay,
it just
May.
says one
Yeah.
float staff day in the summer. So with these calendars, I take them to a staff committee, I take them to the admin team, I share it with Alex before I bring it back to you guys. And that is one of my recommendations. But we'll give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it the next year. Okay.
Need a motion to approve, need a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve the 23, 24 school calendar.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Chris?
Mike,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Renee, Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
These are bad.
We're almost there, guys.
This is the first.
There he is.
Just imagine if you Bob, do you vote yes?
On the graduation change, calendar, the whole calendar, yes, yes.
5.5, board committee assignments. I got good input from everybody. Please double check, look them over, get our attached to the agenda. Any questions, concerns about the committee assignments? I tried to space them out about as evenly as we could. I put Alex in as the foundation board member. Mike is the foundational advocate at large, correct? Yeah, large.
Yep.
Just want to make sure everybody had these two. Any questions about those assignments?
I think we talked last meeting about somebody was gonna get in contact with the teachers. So for example, National Honor Society, had not heard from anyone. And I don't remember if Vernon was looking to do that, or if you were looking to do that, right?
So get in touch with the teachers.
Have the sponsor contact.
Yes,
Perfect.
exactly.
Yep,
Right.
got it. I will make sure that happens.
If everybody's good with the committee assignments, we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any other further discussion? Chris, please.
Alex,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Renee, Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Dr. J.
I'm gonna jump in before you start tying. Sorry, Josh, I'm eating up your time. With this district community report card, we don't really need to approve it because it's all data and factual information. We've always approved it in the past, and I don't mind approving it because it's a publication that's going out. It's kind of nice to have the board's blessing to say, yeah, go ahead and put this out, even though it's all factual data.
And I just want to say, this is probably the longest I've ever gone without speaking, so. It was hard. Okay, but this, as Brandon's shared, this is a Rule 10 requirement for school districts to present a local education association. They don't really call it a report card or anything, but a report. There are some required elements that must be included there: demographics, financial information, achievement data. The thing that I dislike the most, I'll just be upfront about this report, is that it always comes about 6 months in arrears because we're waiting for certain financial data to come in from the local treasury's office, so we don't have that information right away. A lot of the other information we try to share out as that becomes available, but then this is the culmination. So you'll see in there enrollment trends and demographic information, academic, evaluation and levy information. Always, again, 6 months late in budget and find other, kind of things. We try to include information about programs we offer that, maybe make Wahoo special, our CEO's program, our dual credit offerings, those things. And then always some pictures of students that represent our district. I would say too, if you have suggestions, if there's something else that you would like to see in there or it's not in there, we can do that. It's evolved in my 6 years here from like a one-pager with, 9-point type with tiny little numbers all over to something that has some color, but I am by no means a, graphic designer or something, so.
What's your takeaway?
Yeah, so biggest takeaways are things, and you'll see in there, I take away, and our staff have talked about this, that COVID year, that fall of 2020, with the majority of our achievement and academic scores, you saw a decline that next fall, which we were anticipating. Doing some comparisons with other districts over in the area, we didn't feel like we got hit near as hard as some of the other school districts.
again, I think I shared this earlier this year, but you know, a lot of that can be attributed to the board's stance of getting kids back to school and, you know, just ensuring that there's more time in, you know, as many days face-to-face as we could manage. And I mean, we were pretty darn successful in keeping that. So you saw a lot of those scores rebound on a cohort level, I say longitudinally over time, come back to those kind of pre-pandemic numbers where we're at now. Another piece that is somewhat related but may not be fully related is when we look at state achievement data in terms of our NSCAS, Nebraska schools, and the academic piece from the state. This past year was another brand new iteration of previous state assessment models. So if you remember, way back we had STARS assessments that were locally developed. Then we went to NISA and little ESA. Then we went to NISA 2. Then we went to NSCAS, and now we're on NSCAS Pro. So all of these things, right, just continue to change. The target continues to move. It's like high jumping, right? Like, you know, you see the high jump bar, like this is the target. Now, you know, now this is, our standards are here. They're above this, kind of what we've expected in the past, and now even above that, beyond our assessment piece. We're without a state assessment director. Well, no, sorry. We've recently appointed at the MBE level a state assessment director, but we were without one for a time. And some of the assessment pieces that they were promising for the last 3 years will not happen. So they were talking about I'm sure I've shared this with the board in the past few years, adaptable system, right, that would measure, truly be able to get at where students are at from an achievement standpoint, like what the instructional level is. That will not be happening in the near future. So some of those things, some of those promises that were made, we likely will not see those in the next few years. And then the company that was producing those assessments has recently been bought out by another company, so I don't know what kind of changes that's going to mean for us. So when you see those achievement levels, going back to my original point here, this was the last year was this first attempt at this new assessment benchmark for ELA and science. Math will be this year. So this year's math assessments will be based on the 2022 standards that were awarded at the state level. So we'll have a better picture there. Generally, we see there's a little bit of a jolt sometimes. School improvement team gets together, data leaders get together, analyze the data, and all that happens at the building district level, and then adjust our continuous improvement plan and kind of start that process. Right now, though, with the variance that's going on, to be honest, I would be super hesitant about putting all of my eggs in one basket right now. I'm always a big, one time is could be a fluke, 2 times could be a coincidence, right? 3 times is a trend. If we get to that point, yeah, I'll be the first one to say, like, we've got something going on that we need to pay a lot more closer attention to. We don't have anything near that. There's just some weird fluctuations in the assessment tool, kind of what the expectations are, and kind of the perfect storm.
Josh,
My opinion.
Are these tests, in your opinion, are they improving or just simply changing? For the sake of it change?
The hope is that they're improving, right? I have a curriculum directors meeting this Friday. There's a lot of folks in the same conversation of saying, why are we changing, right? We're just constantly changing. It's like, I don't know, I kind of sometimes related to iPhones, right? Like there was a period of time there where for long periods of time they would stay with the same, right? Like the first iPhone came out, it was 5 or 6 years, and then the second came out, they kept that on. Now it's like every 6 months, right? We've got a new one. And I just feel like education, some of the systems are falling into this same pattern, right? So we're going to change every year. We're going to change every 10 months. We're going to try to make these improvements. And a lot of times we don't ever let the system, figure out if it's working, right? I don't know if we have enough consistent information right now to give you. I can't answer that honestly. I have not a lot of faith right now, which is why we rely a lot on our map testing, which we have data that's consistent over time, internal assessments, things that we're doing at the classroom level, much more so than the state assessment. Plus, it's really challenging when you have no idea what's on the test, how the question structures are written and things like that. I mean, we have standards, we know what the standards are, but we don't know how they're asking the students to produce those, answers and responses.
So will it be the same kind of test this year?
It will be.
As last year?
Yes.
So maybe we can
We
start
will,
trending.
absolutely, yes. I'm hoping that we can keep some, consistency going forward. That settles staff down a little bit, settles me down a little bit too, right? Because we can kind of start to get into a groove, we know what to expect, and, if we have areas of improvement, we can start to, really address those. That first time through those really makes a challenge.
And I can see the angst of the teachers themselves.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
they feel like they're being judged based on their results on there. So
Correct.
That constantly changing, sort of adding more stress to their days. Right, I know that's not your fault, but just in general, that's not for these guys.
It is. So if you have, we can, if you have to take action, I guess you can, but if you have anything you want changed or, I'd struggle with how big to make it, right? It's like 20 pages right now. It could get a lot bigger, because there's a lot of great things going on in this district that could be shared, but it's meant to be more academic, strictly academic focus, so you can try to see some other pictures and other things in there.
Do we have to publish this in the newspaper?
We do, not in the newspaper, but I would send it to Susie if she wants it, but we send
But
it out.
generally you
Facebook,
pare it down a little bit, right?
we can, yeah, Facebook, website, Twitter, all of those places it'll go. And then all the secretaries have multiple copies of this in the office. So if we have prospective families who come in, or new families who come in, it goes in the packet, it goes in the folder in the packet for them. So if we're doing a career fair, I take it and get copies of that. If we're interviewing staff, they all, new teachers, they get copies. Promotional pieces. Yeah, it was a good one.
You say that, Brett, sorry?
Our high school science. Assessment scores always jump off the page.
Okay. Any other questions for Joshua on the district? If not, your motion to approve. Second. Any discussion?
Renee? Brett?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Di?
Yes.
First.
Bring it back. Bring it back here.
Personnel resignations and hiring.
All right, a couple things here. Two different motions, one for resignation and one for hirings as a group. Carla Curran submitted a letter of resignation. It sounds like her and her husband are going to fulfill a lifelong dream and move up north and build a house in South Dakota somewhere. So that position we are reassigning directly to PE. We're going to absorb the health piece of it into middle school curriculum, and science and PE split between the two. We're going to have a PE dedicated teacher that we hire that is going to be Clete Verbka, who will move from the elementary. So when all these pieces move in, essentially right now we are going to advertise for an elementary PE teacher to fill Carla's FTE spot. Clete will become strength and conditioning. He'll be in the weight room most of the day with availability for PE. But then we have Sean and Trish with availability for PE because they're already serving those roles. So we've essentially added PE periods for high school and potentially middle school within the week.
So are we still teaching health?
Health.
6, 7, 8?
Health standards will still be taught, but it'll be
Right
interversed
now,
with.
it's every other day, so it follows that AP schedule. So this new process will, which we were exceptionally fortunate to have strictly a health teacher in the middle school, but it'll be ingrained within the science curriculum and within the PE curriculum. So they may have during a PE day or during a week, they may have like a day, a class period day, a day of the week where they're actually in a class environment or class setting with you looking at those health materials, just like it would be happening in the classroom. It's going to look different.
That's the resignation and kind of how we're going about filling it. The other piece here are hires. Amy Birch in special education, Heidi Fessler in middle school counseling, Tracy Larson in English, and Abby Roon in middle school music. You'll see middle school music, middle school counseling. Those will appear as new positions. What we've done there is with Dave Privet resigning from media, Jamie Spalding will go to a 1.0 FTE, but we'll take that 0.6 that she was serving and be able to split it amongst two positions and be in pretty darn good shape financially to add extra opportunities for kids. It's a little bit of a projection with 5th grade coming up in a couple years. There's going to have to be a middle school music. Right now, we're kind of teetering on needing that position independent of the 5th grade. So we're putting that in place because we have space with the PLC. We couldn't go out and hire another classroom teacher. Let's say we wanted a science classroom teacher. We literally have nowhere to put them. We have a place for this position right now.
So will she take over band responsibilities from Mr. Smith?
Band and choir, she'll do both. So we'll have Layton, high school music, high school vocal, Jason, high school instrumental, and then Abby will do middle school instrumental and vocal. But because of the way it's scheduled, they'll be able to help each other as well.
And so she'll also drop down to 5th grade, so long as 5th grade's up there.
She'll do fifth grade instrumental.
Yes.
She won't do 5th grade vocal. Yep.
It allows a lot more flexibility, I think, too, an overall schedule with where we can offer some of those classes. Like right now, we're locked into like 3rd period for middle school, those types of things. And just having that staff member, really frees up the schedule in terms of what that would work.
So do you need a motion to approve the resignation separately from the hiring?
Correct. Need a motion to accept the resignation.
So I'd move to accept the resignation. Discussion.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Di? Yes. Renee? Brett?
Yes.
And now, that motion, since we let one go, we got to make a motion.
Second. Thank you, Alex. Discussion.
Chris, please.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Di? Yes. Renee? Yes. Brett?
Yes.
He's all like.
We had a really nice conversation. There was a really nice conversation that took place today. I think we will now be able to offer students that we've never been able to do in-house.
Items for next meeting, maybe do some research on private benefits.
Okay.
There was mention of,
Yeah.
I don't remember any.
Rusco.
Okay.
You know him, okay. Something, I didn't tell somebody.
Maybe a couple of,
Just so the board's aware, at some point, there'll be a multiculturalism board for meetings every other year. So
Well, it was a report this time, so everybody has the information. So if there's any questions or any changes, he can bring that forth next meeting.
Anything else? Is that all there's still? That's all there's still? It might be. What else?
Policy.
Yeah, policy's gonna have to be done if we're gonna get it enacted by next school year. And it's gonna be, tell me what you guys want, but my anticipation is anything that the committee would like to see changes, or anything where it requires some numbering, like cash values, I'll probably bring to the board for discussion, unless you want the committee to just make a recommendation. But with some of them being really straightforward, I'm probably not going to attach them to the agenda and talk through them. Otherwise, it will be another 3 or 4 hour meeting.
Yeah, I think we can all review it. If there's any specific, pull that stuff.
Okay, perfect.
Anything else for next week? None, then how about a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Doug.
Second.